Good evening, everybody. We're ready to begin tonight's Gardena City Council meeting for Tuesday, December the 13th, 2022. Madam City Clerk, do you mind calling the roll call?
Mayor Serta,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis,
Here.
Councilmember Henderson,
Here.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Here.
and Councilmember Love.
Here.
All members of the council are present.
Okay, thank you. Tonight, we didn't have a closed session, so we're going to go ahead and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight, we have Neil and Savannah Hintz, so they'll be leading us in the pledge. If you guys can come forward, and immediately following that, we'll have our invocation tonight by Pastor Scott Fairchild. So at this time, Neil, Savannah. You guys can start.
Do it. Face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You guys can step back, and Pastor Fairchild, if you'll come forward. Everybody, please remain standing.
Oh. No, we're good. We're good. I feel like I'm with old friends today. It's like I love this. Love being together again. It's good to see all of you. Let's pray. Lord, this is the day that you have made, and we'll rejoice and be glad in it. Lord, there's so many things that we could find that could be reasons to complain, but we don't. We choose instead to celebrate you and to celebrate our friendships, to celebrate our time together, to celebrate this great city, and to celebrate these people that are before us that have stood and have said, I'll lead. God, we thank you for every one of them. We thank you for their courage. We thank you, Lord, for their dignity. We thank you, Lord, for their wisdom. We thank you, Lord, for their understanding. And we ask, God, for your blessing over each one of them. We pray your blessing over all of our city officials as they lead us, as they guide us, as they make decisions, Lord. Give them the wisdom and the guidance of your Spirit. Lord, we thank you for those that are our police force. God, we're so grateful for them and for what they do day after day after day to stand with us and sometimes even in front of us. God, we bless them. We bless even the ones that clean up our streets. God, I'm grateful for them and for what they do. And there's so many others, Lord, that answer the phone every day. God, we thank you for every single one of them. We bless them, and we thank you again for this time. And just as we started, we end with, this is the day that you have made, and we'll rejoice and we'll be glad in it. In Jesus' name, amen.
You may be seated. So if I can get Neil and Savannah to come back to the front, to the podium. So Neil Hantz is in the 3rd grade, and his sister Savannah Hantz is in the 1st grade. So Neil and Savannah were selected as pledgers because they are model students who show leadership abilities and always strive to do their best at Amstoy Elementary School. In addition, their mom is very involved in their school and serves as the secretary of the school site council. And also of note, their assistant principal is here with them tonight, Dr. Petch. So let's first start off by giving them a round of applause for doing a really good job tonight. And Neil, do you want to tell us who you brought with you tonight?
I brought with me tonight my mom, Naomi Hantz, my
Okay.
dad, Neil Hantz, and Dr. Petch, assistant principal.
Okay, where are they at? Where are they? Right there? Okay, good job. Give them a round of applause. Well, you guys did an exceptionally good job tonight as a brother and sister duo here. And so we look forward to having you guys come back in the future and do the Pledge of Allegiance for us once again, just as you did tonight. So again, good job, and keep doing good in school at Amstoy. All right?
All right.
Okay, thank you. You guys can take your seats now. And Pastor Fairchild, if you can come back to the front again, please. So tonight's invocation was led by Pastor Scott Fairchild, who is the lead pastor at Crossroads Church, which is located at 15916 Crenshaw Boulevard. Pastor Scott Fairchild has been serving Gardena and the South Bay area for almost 32 years through the ministry of Crossroads. 3 years ago, Crossroads made the decision to transition to more than a typical Sunday morning service and Wednesday Bible study. They have become a church that meets throughout the week and helps people discover and live out their purpose or their why they are here. The church also serves by connecting and helping other churches and faith-based organizations in our area because they believe in collaboration rather than competition between churches. Along with his wife, Tracy, and his staff, and his staff, they have created a place where people can grow in their dreams along with other like-minded creativities. Their church is a community reimagined, a church without limits, a hybrid church that is both online and in person for every day of the week. Pastor Scott has participated in several Gardena community events throughout his time in Gardena. He believes that Gardena is a little slice of heaven. I like that. He and his wife Tracy have been married for over 33 years, and they have 4 adult children one who just recently married, and their kids are a great joy to their lives. So, Pastor Fairchild, would you like to say anything? Just hit that button right there first.
Okay, and I really appreciate you because it's always a dangerous thing anytime somebody says, Pastor, do you have something to add? It's like, the pastor's always got something to add. The thing, again, I mentioned, it's like, it's just great to see all of you. It's like I'd forgotten how neat this time is, just to be here and just to be able to serve you. And I loved every part of it. I loved the two of you standing up here. There's just something about this city that's so amazing. And the fact that, one, we still do the pledge, which I'm so grateful for. We still do the prayer, which I'm so grateful for. And I'm also just grateful for what you do every day, every time we meet together, by taking young kids and saying, here, this is an opportunity for you. It's like there's just so many things that I think that we, as a city, we can celebrate. So I'm done. I'm just grateful for this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Give them a round of applause, everyone. So let me just go back here for a second. It's something I just forgot to read here. If you would like to participate in the meeting tonight, you can participate via following options. The first way is, one, you can view our meeting live on Spectrum Channel 22 or online at youtube.com/City of Gardena. The second way is, if you'd like, you can participate before the meeting by emailing our Deputy City Clerk at publiccomments@cityofgardena.org by 5 p.m. on the day of the meeting and write public comments in the subject line. That's if you have an email to send in. The third way to attend our meeting or to participate in our meeting is attend, like you guys all are. If you have a public comment, the City Council will hear from the public on any of the items on the agenda and any item of interest that is not on the agenda at the following times. So if it's an agenda item, at the time of the City Council, we'll hear that item or during oral communications. If it's a non-agenda item, during oral communications, that's when we'll hear it. If it's a public hearing, we'll hear it at the time of the public hearing listed on the agenda. If you wish to address the City Council, please complete a speaker request form. It looks like this. It's in the back. And present it to our City Clerk or Sergeant-at-Arms. Please raise your hand. You can hand it to either one of them. You will then be called to the podium by name when it's your turn to address the City Council. The City Council cannot legally take any action on any item not scheduled on the agenda. Such items may be referred for administrative action or scheduled on a future agenda. Members of the public wishing to address the City Council will be given 3 minutes to speak. And we do have standards of behavior that promotes civility at all of our public meetings. Number one, we ask that we treat everybody courteously, we listen to others respectfully, we exercise self-control, give open-minded consideration to all viewpoints, focus on the issues and avoid personalizing debate, and embrace respectful disagreement and dissent as democratic rights, inherent components of an inclusive public process, and tools for foregoing sound decisions. So I'd like to just thank you guys in advance for your cooperation on these things that I've mentioned. So with that, we're going to move on to our presentations. Tonight we have a legislative update by our State Senator Stephen Bradford. If you'd like, you can come forward at this time.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council. First, let me say happy holidays and see. It's always an honor to come back. It's been the practice for me since I left this here council 13 years ago. It's been a practice of mine to come back to this council and provide a legislative update, both as a member of the Assembly and now as a member of the State Senate, as to the work that I've championed over the last legislative year. And for many who might not be aware, our legislative year goes from January to September. Our year ended on September 1, and usually this presentation is made somewhere around October, but due to elections and other challenges that we had, I am just now providing this tonight. And our 2023 year started last week, so we're back at it. But just want to first start by saying I'm honored to represent the 35th Senate District, which Gardena finds itself part of. It's the most diverse Senate district in the state of California. I represent 1 million people. I serve as chair of public safety, and as of last week, I was chair of the Black Caucus. Today, I stand as vice chair of the Black Caucus, so they just can't get rid of me. But I'm honored, again, to bring forth a quick update as to all that we did. First, let me start by stating that we passed a historic $300 billion budget this year, the largest in California's history and probably the largest in any other state in the nation. In addition to that, we had a $37 billion reserve. So things were great this year. In addition to that, I'll break down some of the things that were part of that $300 billion. We provided $9.5 million to tax refunds for residents here in the state of California. Those checks started going out in late September. Well, they started at the beginning of October, really. And if you haven't gotten one like me, you're not eligible for it. But for those who are, you should have gotten your checks. If not, they'll be coming shortly. We also provided $2 billion for small business and nonprofits here in the state of California. As we saw during the pandemic, our small businesses and our nonprofits were greatly impacted. So there's $2 billion to help them move forward and continue to grow and flourish. Also, this legislative election cycle, we had Prop 1. Defending the right of women to do what they choose to do with their body. We provided $200 million in support of women's reproductive rights here in the state of California, which is very commendable because, again, it shouldn't be any legislator or politician determining what a woman should be able to do with her body. Also, we provided $9 billion for discretionary funding for our California schools, which we all know is so badly needed. In addition, there are also $47 billion for infrastructure, including transportation, school facilities, housing projects, libraries, other water projects, and many, many more needed improvements here in the state of California. In understanding building better housing creates a stronger community, we provided $2 billion for affordable housing, as well as $2 billion for student housing. There are students right now sleeping in their cars on many college campuses, so hopefully this $2 billion will help and assist in building the necessary housing that these students deserve. Also, our healthcare workers. We noticed during the pandemic that it was our healthcare workers who were under the most stress, and many left the profession. We have provided $1 billion, I should say, for retention stipends for these critical employees, not only to retain those, but also hope to recruit new people into that field. And we've also expanded our budget for Medi-Cal to all eligible Californians, regardless of their immigration status, and it will provide a 21% increase for CalWORK recipients, taking a major step in making sure that no one lives in poverty, especially our children here in the state of California. And also, as we enter another drought-predicted year, we've all seen the impacts of that, so there's been $19 billion set aside for climate and energy projects throughout the state of California. And as stated, there's a $37 billion reserve. This year, I introduced 12 measures. Of those 12, 8 made it to the governor's desk. Of those 8, 6 were signed. Again, if I was playing baseball, I'd be batting .500, but for me, that was a bad year. But I will quickly go over those 6 bills that were signed into into law. First, I'll start with 1348, which is escrow agents licensure denial for drug offenses. This removes offenses involving controlled substances from the list of crimes requiring automatic license denial under escrow law administered by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. These changes will allow individuals with these minor offenses to achieve meaningful employment in the escrow field. Also, SB 1396, which was tenant credit reporting. As I reported last year to this body, I passed 1157, which was the first bill in the nation that allowed renters to report their credit, their on-time payments to credit agencies. This further expands that and requires landlords to provide assisted housing developments to offer tenants the option, again, it's the option of having their rental payments reported to at least one consumer reporting agency to help them build credit and hopefully one day become homeowners. This bill will be in effect until July 1 of 2025. This bill also establishes oversight and means to conduct a third-party evaluation of SB 1157 before implementing for the implementation, I should say, before the sunset. Also, 1334, unpaid nursing hours. Again, something we experienced during the pandemic, that many of our public sector healthcare workers were being denied lunch breaks as well as rest breaks. This bill will provide those folks who are providing patient care and support in hospitals and clinics or our public health settings, guaranteeing enforceable meal breaks and rest periods for our UC nurses and other public sector workers. As we know, better rested nurses means better quality care for all patients here in California. SB 1317, the pawnbrokers' consumers' privacy. It requires pawnbrokers to collect and record the serial number of all items used as collateral and the personal information of the consumer. But only the serial number will be afforded to CAPS. And CAPS is the department that allows law enforcement to do background investigations. We found that it was intrusion into people's personal background, so now only the serial number of that item that was pawned will be available through the CAP system. SB 1469, water decoupling, authorizes water utilities to utilize a rate-making process referred to as decoupling, which eliminates the incentives of water utilities to increase water use instead of promoting conservation. Decoupling methodology was established in 1980s and made permanent for electrical corporations after the 2000 energy crisis, and we want to do the same in the water field. It's essentially decouples and separates the profit from the total water sales. Decoupling also protects consumers by ensuring that they only pay the actual cost of operating, maintaining, and upgrading the water system. And last is 1476, which is Water Replenishment District contracting. It amends the Water Replenishment Districts Act to provide flexibility for the purchase of materials, equipment, and supplies and professional services. This bill also streamlines the purchasing authority and execution of contracts by governing boards and district managers. Every water agency in the surrounding area supported these measures. And as chair of the Legislative Black Caucus, we also provided a number of bills in the area of public safety. And so I'm committed to creating legislation that focuses on equity and social justice in the public safety and the criminal justice system and small businesses and housing and employment. And now to some of the budget dollars that I personally were able to secure for the 35th Senate District. First, with $5.2 million to increase services to disadvantaged populations who are experiencing vision disparities and inequalities. Angels for Sight, if you're familiar, it's a nonprofit that's been around almost now for 20 years, and it provides eyeglasses free of charge to children and the surrounding school districts. Many times we see kids who are not performing well. It's not because of ability or acting out in class. It's not because of a disciplinary issue. It's because they can't see the board. So Angels for Sight has provided thousands of glasses. So this $5.2 million will help expand that program and provide all these needy school children with eyeglasses. Next, something near and dear to my heart was $7 million for the Inner City Youth Orchestra of LA, better known as ICOLA. This is the most diverse youth orchestra, not in California, but in the nation. It has more African American and Latino young people playing music than any orchestra in the country. And for the last 20 years that they've been in existence, they've had to get instruments that were donated by colleges that were in poor condition. They had to rent their music for their performances, and they had no permanent home. With this $7 million, hopefully they'll have a permanent home. They'll be able to purchase their own instruments and also have their own music library. So this is going to be critical in spanning the arts for these amazing kids. And if you've never seen them, they perform every year at the Disney Concert Hall. So I encourage you to check them out if you haven't. We also secured $5.2 million to nurture and promote entrepreneurship and small business creation and expansion of underserved businesses throughout LA County. This program is run by Barbara Stanton. If you're familiar, she's been a stalwart in the Watts community for over 30 years, and many might know her mother, Ozzie Gonzak, who's a legend in the Watts area. And when you drive, see LAPD cars that said protect and serve, it was Miss Gonzak that came up with that phrase, protect and serve, that's emblazoned on those cars. They have been running a nonprofit that's teaching helping small businesses and minority-owned businesses get off their feet and get started, and also helping young folks in coding and the technology space. And also, finally, for infrastructure, I was able to secure $2 million for Gardena Boulevard, and I want to thank Councilwoman Francis for bringing this to my attention and making it a priority for me, as well as $12 million for the Compton Bridge project. For those of you who have driven on the 91 freeway and you tried to exit at Alameda, you know it's been closed for a number of years. You can't enter the freeway or exit the freeway because of structural problems there on that bridge. We've secured $12 million to begin the construction there. It was a $30 million request, but we've able to secure $12 million, so hopefully we can start some of that repairs that are so badly needed. California has been flush with revenue right now, but what we've experienced over the last 2 to 3 years, I've been able to secure over $200 million for this district, but I don't stand here today and make those same promises next year because we are already projecting a budget shortfall for next year. So we've made hay, as they say, while the sun is shining. So we have to take advantage of that, and I'm happy to be able to be part of that. And finally, I serve as one of 9 members on the Reparations Task Force here in California, the first Reparations Task Force in the nation. I will be leaving here soon and go straight to the airport because we have Reparations Task Force meeting tomorrow in Oakland for 2 days, and we're exploring the effects of slavery. And many people say, well, why California? California was a free state, in name only. The first governor of California owned slaves. California had a fugitive slave law. They adhered to everything that slave states did other than say it in writing. So we're exploring all the harms of slavery, not only here in California, but across the nation. Our meetings tomorrow and Thursday will be conducted in Oakland at Oakland City Hall. So I encourage all of you who can't be there in person to view online. All our meetings are televised, and it's critically important that we understand the history. We came up with the first year report in June, and I encourage you, if you haven't gotten a copy, contact my office. We'll be more than happy to get it to you. It's an easy read. It's only 500 pages, so it's eye-opening, it's enlightening. And I failed to mention one other thing, $40 million. Last year, as you well know, I was the author of SB 796 that returned the property to the Bruce family that was stolen in Manhattan Beach in 1924 back to the Bruce family. This year, with discussions with the governor, I made him aware of Allensworth. Many folks are unaware of Allensworth, but Allensworth is a town in Tulare that was funded by Colonel Allen Allensworth in 1908. It was a town that was funded, governed, and financed by African Americans, and not until racist individuals in that town decided to move the train stop and poison their crops and cut off the water supply that it all but killed that town. It is a state park, but if you've ever visited it, it's not much of a state park. So this $40 million that I've been able to secure would help start to rebuild and bring this up to the luster and lore that it deserves, and share the historic impact of the great history of Allensworth. It was the intentions of Colonel Allensworth to make that the Tuskegee of the West. Again, it was a town that had a bank, had a courthouse, had a schoolhouse. It was the first African-American school district in the state. And so hopefully we'll begin that work of restoring and bringing it up to the just lore and attention that it deserves. And last, before I leave, I just want to mention the upcoming toy drive that my office will be participating with this Saturday on the 17th with the with the Willowbrook, I should say. Wilmington. I did Watts Willowbrook last year. With the Wilmington Boys and Girls Club, which will be 1444 West Q Street. And we're starting at 10 a.m. and we'll go from 2 p.m. So I encourage all of you folks who have children of all ages who wants to receive toys, books, and other items to come out and participate in that. And we want you to share that with your friends, neighbors, for those folks who are in need. And I also want to congratulate Councilwoman Love. We're joining her in her meals and toy giveaway for those needy families. I want to thank Councilwoman Love for everything you've done to continue to make Gardena a better place to work and play and for our businesses. And as always, my office is available to provide any assistance that you might need. So I will stop there, and if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them at this time.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments at this time? You have a question
I don't have a question.
or a comment?
I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to thank you, Senator, on behalf of the City of Gardena for all that you do for us. I know it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of labor put in, but I know where your heart is. It's in the City of Gardena, and I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Just a comment. if I
Go
may.
ahead.
I specifically want to thank you for the funding for the Gardena Boulevard Revitalization Program. Gardena Boulevard, as we've talked lots of time, it is, it used to be the main drag, and we like to, as we say, we like to return it to its status. So thank you so much. Now, I want to add, $2 million is a nice start, and I know you just mentioned that there may be a budget shortfall next year, but we sure would appreciate it if you could help us continue to grow in funding so that we can really make it a wonderful place to be.
Without a doubt, as long as there's funding available and we have a surplus, I will always advocate. As I stated, I've been fortunate enough to secure over $200 million in the last 3 years. Like I say, $60 million last year for Cal State Dominguez Hills, $40 million for Charles Drew University, on and on and on. So I'm going to continue as long as I have a vote, as long as I have a voice, to bring those resources home. And again, Gardena is near to dear to me. I've lived here forever. I've served on this council for 12 years, and 12 years never missed a council meeting. So I'm committed to making sure that Gardena continues to grow and flourish, and whatever I can do, you can call in my office.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, if not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, next up here. Item number 5B, we have a certificate of commendation to and special recognition of retirement and longtime service to the city of Gardena, and that is to Juan Moreno. And let me just read this here as he's coming forward. Find my spot here. So tonight we have a certificate of commendation being presented to Juan Moreno. It's an official acknowledgement and with deep appreciation for an exemplary, outstanding 21 years and 8 months of service to the city of Gardena as a sewer maintenance worker with the Public Works Department. So we, the mayor and members of the city council of the city of Gardena, California, are pleased to present this special recognition to you for your longtime city service and express our sincere best wishes for a healthy and enjoyable and rewarding retirement, which will be effective, which was effective November 21st, 2022. So where's our certificate we have for him? Oh, it's right there. Maybe you want to hold it up so everyone can, and the audience there can see it. All right, thank you. So with that, congratulations. Would you like to say a few words? Let us director say a few words? Hit the button there. Thanks.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm still getting used to your mic. Juan retired recently after 22 years of service. He began his career with the city as a custodian in 2001. He served as a graffiti technician for a brief period, then promoted to sewer maintenance worker in 2007. Juan was a reliable and dedicated member of the team and had a good working relationship with his coworkers. He was conscientious and took pride in his work, always ready to serve the community. He was a regular volunteer for Keep Gardena Beautiful Day, spending his free time to help clean and beautify the city. He has a wealth of knowledge and a positive attitude that will be truly missed. Out of all the workers, I'm proud of all of our staff in Public Works, but the sewer maintenance worker is by far one of the toughest positions and by far one of the most valuable. It's a badly needed service and keeps our community functioning. So thank you very much, Juan.
Thank you.
Would you like to say anything? No? Okay.
I was enjoying working for the city of Gardena. I was working almost 22 years, and every day I enjoy it. All I can say, thanks to the city of Gardena. Thanks to everyone. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your service. Everybody, let's give him a round of applause. 22 years is a long time to work somewhere. I know some people can't stay at a job for a year, but 22 is a long time. Okay, thank you again for that. Okay, item number 5C, which is the 2022 Most Business-Friendly City Award. Jackie Choa here, our Economic Development Manager, is going to say a few words about this.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and the members of the City Council. I also have the slideshows in the back while I'm making a presentation. Tonight, staff presents the Gardena community that the LA County Economic Development Corporation, also known as the LAEDC, named the City of Gardena as the LA County's most business-friendly city during the 27th Annual Eddie Award on November 9th, 2022 at the SoFi Stadium. Every year, the Eddie Awards recognize those cities which are doing the most to encourage job creation, facilitate ease of doing business, and cutting through the red tape. Gardena was selected due to its high number of new developments, our existing well-established businesses, and our efforts to cutting through the red tape. Our commitment toward community programs, infrastructure improvements, and our dedication to economic development as a priority truly make Gardena the most business-friendly city. We would like to thank the Toss-Up, Ramona's Food Group, and G3 Urban Homes for supporting the city by endorsing Gardena as a business-friendly city to the LAEDC. Lastly, we would like to thank the entire Gardena community making economic development a priority. And that concludes the presentation, and congratulations to the City of Gardena. Thank you.
Okay, and just in case you can't see that very clearly, this is our award. We were all very, very excited that night, and interestingly enough, initially it was only supposed to be myself and the council go up there, but we were so excited we all ran up there. So it was a really good night, long time coming, and so I'm happy that we came to this point here, and for all your help and assistance in making this a reality for us this year. So Jackie, thank you as well as all of the other departments that participated and employees that participated in making this a reality. So let's all give ourselves a round of applause, I guess. Okay, and I'm sure there will be more to come as it relates to the Eddie Award as far as being the most business-friendly city here. We're going to make sure that everybody in the city of Gardena knows it, and in the next, I guess, couple of months, you'll start seeing signs as we roll them out so that as people are driving through our city, whether they're a visitor or they reside here, they'll know we received this award this year, and it'll probably be up for a little while. So, okay. With that, let's move on here. Tonight, item number 7A, appointments. Does any member of the City Council here have any appointments besides me to be made to any commissions, boards, or committees at this time? No, I'm the only one? Okay. So with that being said, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Woods Woolwine to the Rent Mediation Board as a member-at-large member. And he has been somebody who has been involved with Gardena for many, many years. In fact, he served over 37 years as a chairman with the Recreations Commission, and he's just known all over Gardena here. So when it comes to experience, I think he is well qualified. In fact, he might even be overqualified. So with that, I'm making the motion. Hopefully I can get a second.
I'll second.
Okay, so Madam City Clerk, a motion's been made by myself and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Francis. Will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Serta,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Councilmember Love.
Yes.
Okay, congratulations. And Woody, would you like to say a few words as he's coming forward? Just know that we will be swearing him in at a later time in a couple of days here. And just want to give you the opportunity to say a few words.
It works.
Yes.
I'm used to mics. The Honorable Mayor Serta, I appreciate this appointment and the confirmation from the members of the council. I'm looking forward to it. I've done it before, to working with Jack and the members of the board. I like to change hats just a little bit. As you
Okay.
all know, I'm the chairman of the Parks and Recreation Commission. This Saturday, between 12 and 2, there'll be awards presentation for the flag football. The presentation will take place around 1 o'clock. So any of you are able to come, we appreciate it to be there. I will also be there. And also, last but not least, I wish you all a very happy holidays and a happy new year. So you have a great evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's give him a round of applause for the work that he will be doing. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so next on our calendar is our consent calendar. I'm sure we've all gone over it and read it pretty thoroughly here. Does any member of the council have any items that they would like to discuss separately? No? Madam City Clerk, do we have anybody from the public that would like to discuss any items here?
No,
separately?
we do not, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Well, that being said, at this time, can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar as is?
Moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Tanaka and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Francis. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Love.
Yes.
And Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay. As we move forward tonight, I just want to ask everybody, when we speak into our mics, if we can get as close as we can, just so that people can hear it at home on our cable channel as well as through YouTube. Some people are saying they're having a little trouble trying to hear us. Okay, so next up is item number 8H. Mr. City Manager. That was my mistake. I'm sorry. Spoke too soon. I'm sorry. I threw you off here. I'm sorry. Next up is Planning and Environmental Quality Commission action sheet. Just of note, on November 16, 2022, the meeting was canceled. And on December 6, 2022, they did have a meeting, but basically it was a 2022 Planning Commission recap for the entire year, and no action was taken at that time. So with that, next up is oral communications, and we have a couple of speakers here tonight. Yeah, I got it. Okay, we have two speakers coming before us tonight. The first one is Andrea Simmental, and then the second is Brandon Smith. I just want to remind everybody that you have 3 minutes to speak, and when you see the yellow light come on, it'll let you know that 2 minutes are up, and when the red light comes on, that your time is up at that time. Okay, thank you.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, my name is Andrea Simmenthal, and I am the manager at Masao W. Sato Library in Gardena, and I'm here to share some upcoming in-person programs we have at the library. For children, our winter puppet show is going to take place this Thursday, December 15th. This will be a winter-themed puppet show featuring marionettes for ages 4 to 12 and their parents and caregivers. On Tuesday, December 20th and 27th at 2:30 p.m., we have our Smarty Pants story time for children ages 2 to 5 and their parents and caregivers. Children can enjoy books, rhymes, movements while learning school readiness skills. For teens, we have a make-your-own pop-up card activity kit available while supplies last. And our winter reading club for all ages begins Thursday, December 15th and runs through January 15th. You can sign up online at lacountylibrary.org/winter-reading, and participants are challenged to read 400 minutes during the month and will be awarded prizes once they complete the challenge. And we continue to have rapid COVID-19 tests available at our library, limit 2 per person. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Brandon Smith.
Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the City Council. My name is Brandon Smith, and coincidentally, I have a separate Vermont Avenue-related topic from the truly exciting development of the crosswalk I see on the agenda tonight. No sarcasm. Very excited about it. I recently moved to Vermont Avenue, north of Rosecrans, discovered the Metro C line. The train is a viable option for me to commute to my job near LAX. I wanted to be the change I wanted to see in the world and bring one more car off the road in the mornings and evenings, and thought I would bike, thereby saving some gas money and frankly reaping some exercise benefits, which I think I sorely need to take my bike. So interestingly, I noticed the northbound side of Vermont has a painted bike lane. Some may derisively call it a painted bike gutter all the way from Carson to South LA and beyond, which is great. But coming home southbound, I found the bike lane only runs from the Metro stop to El Segundo Avenue. The car lane shifts to the right, and the bike lane totally disappears. The sidewalk remains slim there, barely enough for 2 walking pedestrians to pass each other. So therefore, bikers along Vermont have to make a dangerous decision, in my opinion. Ride in the car lane, which is not even marked for sharing, or ride on the sidewalk as a hazard to pedestrians and as well as vehicles entering the road from the streets and the side roads there. Vermont Avenue southbound is also a significant downhill, so it's easy to pick up speed on your bike. Looking into it more, I basically found that the bike lane in that area is sort of blocked off by the Gardena city limits, right? It stops southbound at El Segundo and restarts back at 182nd Street, specifically at Electric Street. So it'd be easy to stop here and request basically just a bike lane to be painted to continue down this side, which would be great, but anecdotally, even during peak rush hour times, I rarely find much traffic down Vermont because I believe it parallels the 110, so it's mostly short trip local traffic. Frankly, 3 lanes kind of seems like overkill, in my opinion, and if I could be so bold, I would even maybe suggest if we had some in the budget to suggest even a traffic study to determine if it would be feasible to even shift the parallel parking along that road southbound over to the left and install a modern protected bike path like we've seen elsewhere in LA, coupled with traffic signals that maintain that protection through intersections. Regardless, I hope this sort of lack of bike infrastructure on that road is really just an oversight you can look into further. Basically a simple case of our municipal neighbors in Los Angeles just simply not communicating their construction of a bike route that led to our own city. LA County as a whole, I've read, is actually a pretty popular place to commute by bike. And I think
can go
it's a
ahead and
great
continue.
opportunity- Thank you, sorry.
You can go ahead and continue.
Just to finish up here, I think part of adding a bike lane to that road, it also leads down to Gardena Boulevard, which itself would help get people to those businesses, get people as part of that revitalization efforts that we have, some of that money, and basically helping to revitalize and get some cars off the road as well as mine. So, but thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Next up is item number 12A, Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item 12A is the City of Gardena audit reports for fiscal year ended June 30, 2022, the annual comprehensive financial report, and the family, child care, and G-Trans. Presented for City Council to receive and file are audited financial reports for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022, as prepared by the city's contracted auditing firm, the Poon Group, LLP, an independent public accounting firm fully licensed and qualified to perform audits of the state of California and local governments within the state. Tonight we have representative from the Poon Group, Ms. Sophia Kuo. Please stand up. And thank you, Sophia. And I'll have a presentation tonight, and I'll be assisted by Director of Admin Services, Ray Beeman. The goal of the independent audit is to provide reasonable assurance that the financial statements of the city for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022 are free of material misstatements. So tonight we have a very short presentation of our financial report. It's called the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, shortened as ACFR? ACFR, for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022. So the contents for tonight, we'll have our audited general fund fiscal year 2021-2022 financials. Again, our independent auditor is the Poon Group, LLC. We'll talk a little bit about the audit results, the timeline, the awards that we get, and then the financial highlights and notable events. So this is the overview of the audited general fund for fiscal year 2021-2022. I apologize for this slide. It's a little bit busy, but it is necessary for us to show you the different revenue sources that the general fund receives every year. The first 6, which comprises of the top 5 revenue sources for the city, are your taxes. The sales tax, the first one is the sales tax, otherwise known as the Bradley-Burns 1%. Every city gets this. The column right after that would be our audited revenue numbers for 21-22. After that, the column is the amended budget for July 1st, 2022. 2021, 2022? 21-22. Followed by the difference in dollars, and then lastly, the difference in percentage. So you can see our sales tax, the Bradley-Burns sales tax at least, outperformed our projections by 4.8%, or nearly $700,000. The other component that we have in sales tax, which is the Measure G, which was voted on by the residents of Gardena, which is a 3/4 cent sales tax, has also outperformed, but by a larger amount, which is about 11.2%, or $1.1 million from the amended budget, roughly around 11.3 million. So you can see, sales tax alone consists of about $26.4 million of our total revenue for the city. Followed by the card club revenue fees, that outperformed 2.8%. So it's a good thing to see that our card clubs are actually doing a lot better now. So you can remember, even before COVID, the Lucky Lady was shut down because of a roof collapse, and then unfortunately right after that, both card clubs were were shut down due to COVID. As you can see, we had a modest projection for 21, 22, but the difference in dollars, as audited by our auditors, is actually about $1.1 million above our projection. So that's, I'm sorry, $285,000 above the projection, which is great news for the city. You want to talk a little bit about property tax and UUT?
Sure. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. So what we're looking at here is last fiscal year. So this is June 30th, 2022, so how we did last fiscal year. Property tax, we brought in 9.1 million. Our amended budget was 8.7 million, so we were over by 400,000 or 4.5%. Utility users tax, that was up by 603,000. That was because last fiscal year, more businesses came back in the office. They were using more utilities, so we saw an increase in that revenue for last fiscal year. As in the past, businesses were kind of shut down and closed. They weren't using these utility users tax. We saw a decline, but in this last fiscal year, we saw that come back a little more, and we were up by $600,000. Those make up our top five. Vehicle license fees was pretty flat, 7.4 million compared to 7.3 in budget, up by 30,000. So we were right there within our mark. The other items below our top five, you have business license tax, license and permits. So our license and permits was up $900,000. That was, we contracted with BPR. We did more license and permit revenue. That increased the processes, faster response time, also resulted in 900,000 more in additional revenue in those categories. A big one there that you see in the red, two negatives. One's is fines and forfeitures, and then the other is investment income. So the investment income was negative 1.6 million compared to the 151,000 we budgeted. This is an accounting entry. This is a GASB 72. Basically, it's more just an entry based on fair market value. So this will be reversed in the next fiscal year, but it's an accounting entry. We really earned about 127,000 in interest income, but because of the accounting principles, we had to book this entry. So this is just an accounting entry. No cash or any change there, but we had to book that entry, so more the accounting side. You want to highlight any
What are we
others?
on? All right. And the other revenue sources that we have pretty much is the same picture that we're seeing is that we're outperforming our initial estimates back in July, which is a good news. Overall, we are up 4% from when we projected this, or the difference is $3.1 million in real dollars. Expenditure-wise, as you can see, the biggest takeaway here is that we are below budget, and the reason being is that we are, and it's just an industry-wide issue that we're having right now, is that we're having an issue filling positions. So we've projected and budgeted for those positions, but we're not filling them. We are recruiting pretty aggressively, but it's really hard to find fill positions these days because it's just the job market is just what it is. And so as you can see, this is not normal that we are running in the negatives as far as expenditures. We do try, and I commend all of the department heads and all the departments throughout the year for really taking the initiative to save money when we can. But the difference that you're seeing here really is the salary savings that we're seeing because we're not filling positions. And Ray mentioned that we had an increase in licenses and permits in the revenue side. What you're seeing here is an increase in expenditure for community development because we do have to pay for increases in contracted services as far as permits and fees. Overall, when you wash it through, we are positive. We are revenue positive in that segment. So you're seeing a negative 474, but there is a corresponding increase in revenue on the revenue side. Any notable things here? Sure. Good.
A couple other items to note on here is the non-departmental, that's including fire and RCC. We came in at $12.7 million, and the budget was 12.3. We were almost $400,000 over. This was less ambulance credits. So we got a little less ambulance credits in fire, resulting in a little more increases in the fire side there. So we were a little more. That's 3%. The other item there, transfer to other funds. That includes our debt payments. That includes our payments for kind of workers' comp payouts, liability payouts. This is transfers. Some of that large difference is we're putting money away into our technology fund for our new ERP system. Our current Eden system will be going away and won't be supported in a few years, so we have to start putting away to save for that project. So that is resulting in a little bit of an increase in the transfers compared to where we budgeted.
So overall, we're seeing a difference in percentage as far as expenditure-wise, 2.4% or $1.7 million from the amended budget back in July. This is a picture of the general fund revenues and expenditures. Total revenue is at $80.7 million. Total expenditures is at $72.2 million. That results in a positive or a surplus of $8.4 million, or almost $8.5 million. We began our reserve at $24.9 million, and we're ending this fiscal year, this particular fiscal year, 21-22, with a reserve balance of $33.4 million, or 46% of expenditures. If you could recall, our council-directed policy for threshold is at 25%. The audit results, again, Representative Sophia is here tonight with the Poon Group. I will invite her to come up and entertain any questions the city might have as far as our report card, if you will, for our audit this year. But let me go through a couple of different items here, just to familiarize the City Council for regarding the audit timeline. This is the year-end process, the interim audit. We begin our audit cycle with our interim audit, and that's basically determining internal controls. Do we have enough control set that we don't have any fraud or anything like that? That usually happens in May. That's about 2 weeks. And then followed by the final audit field work that they come to the city. It's basically 1 week in August and 2 weeks in October 2022. The scope is pretty extensive. You hear about audits of cities, you hear about frauds, and this is how they determine those findings. This particular engagement, they pulled over 900 documents and records that were requested by the Poon Group. Thank you very much. And the question really is asked, does the city comply with generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP in short, and the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, GASB pronouncement and rules? That's the two main questions that are being asked. So they pull all these documents. As you can see there, for payroll, we have the payroll certs, registers, IRS filings, the timesheets that we fill out, our checks that we receive, direct deposits, those are all getting pulled. Our PAFs, promotions, etc., are those filled out correctly? And so on and so forth. There's a lot of things that go on in the payroll structure. On the revenue side, we saw the revenues earlier on the earlier slide. Do we receive them in time? Do we book them in time? The checks that we receive, are they properly accounted for? The wires, bank statements, all supporting documents, are they in compliance? And those are the things that they ask. Expenditure-wise, invoices, packing slips, even packing slips. Why is that important? Well, we don't want, an order of tires, bus tires, going to the Director of Transportation's house. We don't want that, Mr. Crespo. So luckily, they didn't find any of that stuff. Journal entries, checks, wires, bank statements, approvals, all the other documents. Purchasing, we need proper requisitions, proper approvals. If somebody requests something, there needs to be an approval process, an approval tree. I can't just say, order this, and then that's it. Or Ray can't just do that. There has to be an accountability, and that's what they check. We see bids and quotes, RFQ, RFB, RFP. Are those all being handled correctly? And City Council always has questions about those, and rightfully so, you should. But the auditors also ask those questions at the end of the year, and they see the trail and see the paper and determine whether or not we are in compliance. Minutes, council minutes, other supporting documents. And then, miscellaneous documents that they request, bank statements, investments, they look at that. All the contracts that we get into, all the bank reconciliation schedules, meeting minutes, are we in compliance? And then they go back in February of the next year for what's called a single audit. This is a 2-week engagement. This is, they look at the schedule of expenditure of federal awards. These are federal programs, over $750,000. Some examples of the ARP, G-Trans has a lot of these things, Family Child Care, CDBG, and Senior Grants Program. And luckily, there have been no single audit findings from the past 3 years. So we're very clean there. Just want to point that out. So what's the audit results? The City of Gardena received no findings. The City of Gardena received an unmodified opinion. So you might ask, what is an unmodified opinion? It is expressed by the auditor when the auditor concludes that the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework, which means our books, everything they looked at, over 900 documents, is very, very clean. The auditors also test for deficiencies in internal controls. This is where you find fraud. Are we signing checks and are we cashing them? These are the things that they look at. So one of the things that they look at is material weakness. It is a deficiency or a combination of deficiencies in internal control, such that there is a reasonable possibility that a material misstatement of the entity's financial statements will not be prevented or detected and corrected on a timely basis. In our particular case, there were no material weaknesses in internal controls or financial reporting were found or reported. So overall, what that says is that there are no findings, and we're very clean. That being said, having clean books and clean financial, we do receive awards for doing so. We do get the Certificate of Achievement in Excellence in Financial Reporting from the Government Finance Officers Association, otherwise known as the GFOA, and this is our 36th consecutive year. We have not missed getting this award. I can tell you that this award is a very rigorous award. If you think that the audit process was rigorous, this award is not a simple thing that we go through. I was fortunate enough in my earlier in my career to be able to grade different cities, and I tell you that not everybody gets this, but we do, and we have gotten it for the 36th consecutive year. And pretty recently, the city was awarded the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for its biannual budget fiscal year 2020-2021 and 2021-2022. So these are just the 2 awards that we get in financial reporting and budgets that the city is very proud to receive. Some of the financial highlights in 21-22, notable events, we have passed Measure G. As you saw in the revenue side, that's about 11.4 million or 14% now of the general fund revenue for fiscal year 21-22. This keeps Gardena sales tax money in Gardena. And what is it used for? We've got the community projects, Mass Fukai, Rosecrans Community Center, and the Aquatic Center. Those are all being paid for in part by Measure G. You're also aware of the lease revenue bonds. In 2021, we issued the LRBs. That's $13.2 million in LRB bonds, and we got that at the all-time low at 1.98%, versus if we were to issue LRBs today, you'd probably get the rate of 4% if you're lucky. Again, it's funding great projects like the Mas Fukai, Rosecrans Community Center, and the Aquatic Center. If you were to issue those bonds today, you would have to pay an equivalent of around $4 million more in additional debt service payments. And lastly, the 2020 pension obligation bonds. This is a big one. It's called the POB. We issued $101 million in POB bonds at 3.29%. If you were to do that today, it wouldn't make much sense because the interest rate is so high. It'd be foolish to do that. But if you did it, you won't realize all the savings that we got, which is along with the Fresh Start, saved the city $51 million in true savings in the span of, what is that, 17 years, 18 years? About 18 years. We also adopted an unfunded accrued liability policy, UAL policy, that will address future additional UALs. These unfunded accrued liabilities, if you recall, ballooned over the number of years. That's why we had to do this pension obligation bonds. We now have a mechanism in place that will pay down any additional UALs that we incur. Luckily, I was just informed that our UALs, our UAL is not going to be growing. In fact, we are super funded at this point. So we're not going to be making any payments into that for the next 2 years. So if you issued it today, that'll be about 6%. There will be no savings and no opportunity to save the city millions of dollars. That concludes my presentation. I'd like to invite Sophia to go up and say a few words and comment on our report card.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager, and then Ray. So good evening, everybody. And Sophia Go. I'm from the PUN Group, and we are the external auditors for the city. And I'm happy to be here tonight. And we are really happy to say that we issued a modified opinion, which is the best opinion that outside CPA firm can issue. And I know a lot of people also refer to clean opinion. And I really want to take this opportunity to say thank you to the city manager and also the administrative services director, and then also his staff, Danny and Koi. They have been really super helpful to get all those over 900 documents to us in order for us to complete the audit timely. And I will be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments at this time? Okay, Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Manager, could you and also speak with the auditor in regards to, because we've gone so far over our percentage of our reserve where we agreed to 25%, has there been any recommendations that will go to the Finance Committee on how we make sure we bring that down? Because usually with it being that large, then that starts to breed crazy ideas and improprieties and everything and all that. So how do we get control of that? That's the first question.
So that's a great question. In my opinion, as we saw during the pandemic, we blew through $10 million in 6 months. So in my opinion, with the looming recession that apparently is coming, I think that 25% is a little low, given that what we've seen. I think roughly around 30% would be good. I do agree that 45% is a lot higher than most cities, and so if the council does prefer a lower policy on reserves, then that would be a policy decision when you would set that. Either you want to go to 30% or, well, the only way you can lower our reserves is to spend it. But again, my recommendation probably is to go a little bit higher, 27 to 30%. And then after that, you'd have to make a decision. And we could, we have a number of different projects that we're working on that would require additional funding.
Thank you. A second question I have, could you further clarify the pension obligation bond so everybody doesn't believe that we passed our measure to support our outstanding retirement liability, and what the actual pension obligation bond is?
Sure. So our retirement system is called CalPERS, and CalPERS and their sole duty is to make sure that when we make our pay-as-you-go payments to CalPERS, they invest it in different securities, and they make a certain amount of money to support our future growing staff when they do retire, their pension. Throughout the years, that pension structure that they invest, they weren't making enough revenue to support it. For instance, the discount rate, if you will, that's what their target rate is for making sure that they're able to pay the pensions. It was up to 7.5%. So what that means is that in any given year, on average, they would have to they would have to make their investments around 7.5%. As you know, in the past 10, 15 years, that they weren't making that. And so they had to keep on lowering the discount rate. They lowered it to 7, and then finally lowered to 6.75%. When they do that, that means that they're not earning enough revenue from investments, and so what they have to do is increase our unfunded accrued liability. It's exactly what it is. You have a pension program, but it keeps on growing, but you're not meeting that by earning investments through CalPERS, and that's how it's called unfunded accrued liability, UAL. So for all intents and purposes, our pension has been growing, and it's about $100 million when we did the POB, the pension obligation bonds. That was at around 7%, I believe. What we did was we issued a pension obligation bond. This bond that we issued is not new debt. We owe that to the pension, to CalPERS, the $101 million. We owe that. And so when we issued the pension obligation bond, this is existing debt. All we were doing was refinancing that debt. So we were paying at 6.75 or 7% a year or two ago. We refinanced that to 3.1%, and that's where you're seeing the savings over the next 19 years, 17, 19 years. That's where you're seeing the $51 million savings. Because if you were to just keep on paying, you would be paying $51 million more than you are now. And that's why we did the pension obligation bonds. And that's why today, in today's market, today's environment, you can't do that because the interest rate's so high, you'd be paying about the same. So you wouldn't be issuing POBs at this environment.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Go ahead.
So when you talk about our reserves being high, doesn't it cost us, so if the recession came and we started to have to pay more in debt, what's it cost us a month to run the city? Is it $10 million?
About $10 million a month.
$10 million? So if we got in trouble, that reserve that we have now might help us to get through that difficult time then.
So if you saw a recession similar to the pandemic, which I don't believe any recession, a great recession, would be that severe. But let's say you did, then your reserve would probably be in the neighborhood of 20 to 25%, which is where we were before.
So we're actually safe right now.
Yes, I mean it's because you don't know what the recession is going to hold. I would suggest that we don't touch it at this point. Later on, we can probably do a council directive to spend that down or put it on somewhere else. But at this point, because of the recession that's looming, I probably would just leave it alone for now.
Okay. And then as far as our POB, other cities try to do what we did, but we're too late?
Well, there's a stigma on the POBs. It is POBs are very tricky because you have to do it at the exact right moment, otherwise it doesn't work. A lot of cities did that many, many years ago, and it just didn't work, and they got in trouble. Number one is that they issued POBs. We have actually a neighboring city that did that not too long ago, and they paid it down. They issued a POB, but they didn't put any mechanism in place to safeguard against future UALs. So what ended up happening is they had the POB, and then the UAL went up in the same level, so they're just stuck with the POB and the UAL, which essentially doubled their payments. So a lot of cities, 2-3 years ago, were very, very hesitant in issuing POBs. So you really have to time it correctly, otherwise it doesn't work. And I think this council was very supportive of our recommendation, and we looked at this and we studied it, and we went to CalPERS and we asked them a lot of questions, and we said, hey, we believe this is the right time. And sure enough, it was the right time. And so, to answer your question, there wasn't a lot of cities that took advantage of that. There was a handful of cities in Southern California, throughout California, but there is still that stigma that POBs are bad. In fact, the GFOA was against that not too long ago. But against that in the sense that you have to find the right environment to do that, otherwise it doesn't work.
And you found it. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments? No? Okay, well, thank you for that report. Good job. And glad our report card looks really good, and another good, successful year. I thought this was year 37, but it's 36.
36.
Okay, well, I'm calling it for the future. 37 is going to be good. Okay,
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
thank you very much. Okay. With that being said, we're not going to make any motions on this or anything. We're just going to receive and file the audit report for fiscal year 2021 through 2022. Okay. Madam City Clerk, I think I was moving a little too quickly with oral communications. I forgot to ask you, do we have any emails or public comments that were sent in?
Yes, Mayor, we do. We have two emails that were submitted and received from members of the public. They have been forwarded to the council and have been made part of the record. And if anyone wants to review them, they can always contact the Office of the City Clerk. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next up is item number 12B. Mr. City Manager?
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item 12B is to approve Microsoft Software Assurance and Licensing Agreement with Dell Technologies for $575,787.12 for the period January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2025. City's current Microsoft Software Assurance and Licensing Agreement is expiring on December 31st, 2022. Microsoft software that is not properly licensed and maintained under a software assurance agreement is subject to penalties, and that could be up to 2 to 3 times the cost of the contract. Proper licensing assures that the city's software will be upgraded to the most current version with no additional cost, and provides training directly from Microsoft as well as technical assistance. Unlicensed Microsoft products are subject to license revocations, which could result in server failure and total non-functionality of the city's computer systems. The city completed a full audit of its licenses and worked in conjunction with city departments to update license counts to match the current needs of the departments. The city piggybacked on the County of Riverside Microsoft Enterprise Master Agreement contract to leverage the buying power of the county and obtain the related discounted rates. This follows the Gardena Municipal Code 2.60.140, which specifies where purchases are to be made in concert with other governmental agencies. Formal bid requirements are set forth in this chapter, shall be waived, and the purchasing officer shall be authorized to procure materials, supplies, and services in cooperation with other governmental of public entities commonly referred to as piggybacking. The city reached out to 7 providers and requested 3-year proposals, quotes from licensed solution providers as designated by the Riverside County Master Agreement 8084445. Staff recommends for City Council to approve a 3-year contract, January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2025, with the lowest qualified bidder, Dell Technologies. Dell manages a considerable portion of all Microsoft enterprise agreements throughout the state of California. So the total for the next 4 years that we're looking at is $575,787. General fund is responsible for approximately $355,000. Technology fund is responsible for about $100,000. G-Trans, $102,000, and other funds, which are sewer and other grants, at $18,623. What is required tonight is to approve the proposal.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, do we have anybody from the public wishing to speak on this item?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we do.
Okay. Mr. Zahid are here?
Yes.
Anybody else?
No.
Okay. Mr. Zahid, you can come forward at this time now. Just hit the little button there. Just want to remind you, you have 3 minutes to speak. Just go ahead and hit that little button there.
With regards to this, I was thinking, because this is essentially going to be login credentials, I'm not sure, I'm not the IT person, so what I would say is, eventually, I hope the city could create a computer lab at Royalty Park. That should be our initial, the fiber's already there. The biggest thing is licensing logins, because Microsoft will have a number of login credentials that they'll allow our users for Microsoft Word. If you log on to Microsoft Word, you'll see like initials up, let's say we have city manager, he'll have his initials there on the top left of it. I mean, if you're initially thinking about, hopefully, I'm hoping we can have a computer lab at Royalty Park. The biggest thing is infrastructure, lack of infrastructure in our city, and having that computers, actually having physical computers and people having login credentials. Microsoft will set a certain amount of, I was looking at the contract, a certain amount of users for that login. If you have people signing up for like students or high school students or college students or even seniors or community members, they want to log in, Microsoft may not cover them for that Microsoft Word. So if they're trying to do a homework presentation, they're not going to be able to use that. I would strongly recommend increasing the number of licenses, asking them, there's a student licensing, I forgot the exact terminology, but there's a actual, Microsoft has it's an educational discount. They give this to like UCLA and all the universities, and trying to, I mean, this is excellent. I mean, just having it where you can expand upon this contract. So once that computer lab is launched, you do have that infrastructure capability licensing agreement, because this is a 3-year license agreement. I hope we have a computer lab at City Hall, at Royalty Park in, before 3 years. It's certainly needed in our city, and eventually even having, I'll email you guys about the other ideas, a college career center. So actually getting high school, middle school children and pipeline into college. So helping them accelerate it. And we need those computer labs, because there's no way of applying for college student loan applications, college admission packets without the internet. The internet's the future. So yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let me open it up to members of the council. Before we do that, quick question. Mr. City Manager, this is for staff, correct? City staff.
This is for the city. This includes 409. This is a total of 492 licenses.
Okay.
This is throughout all the departments. We do have outside vendors and other licenses extra licenses that we buy.
Right.
By all means, we can add additional licenses if we need to. I mean, the more computers we buy, we can do that.
Okay.
But this is for approximately 492 licenses.
Got it. Okay. Any member of the council have any questions or comments? No? Okay. That being said, can I get a motion to approve the proposal?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Henderson and a second by Councilmember Tanaka.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis,
Yes.
Councilmember Love,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, next up is item number 13A. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item 13A is the new fortune-telling permit number 2, Psychic Reading and Meditation Center at 1602 Artesia Boulevard, Unit F, here in Gardena, California, 90248. Up for City Council consideration is an application for a new fortune-telling permit from Sophie Adams and Tiffany D. Johnson, DBA number 2 Psychic Reading and Meditation Center, located at 1602 Artesia Boulevard, Unit F in Gardena. Departmental inspections and investigations, as well as background checks, were conducted as required by Gardena Municipal Code Section 5.40.020. The applicant has posted a bond in the amount of $10,000 for the City of Gardena. After reviewing the responses from the applicable departments and the reasons for denial stated in Section 5.04.160, it is recommended that City Council approve the application. There is no financial impact. What's required tonight is to recommend and for the city to approve the new fortune-telling permit for Sophie Adams and Tiffany D. Johnson, DBA number 2, Psychic Reading and Meditation Center.
Okay, thank you. Madam City Clerk, do we have anybody from the public speaking on this item?
I don't have a speaker slip for anyone.
Okay. Is the applicant here? I'm just curious. If they're not, if we have any questions for them? No? Okay. Does any member of the council have any comments or questions at this time? I do. So I was reading through here and I noticed where they were cited as far as violation. I was curious, how long have they been operating before they were cited? Do we know that?
CDD Director Sujuchi should be able to give
Okay.
that information.
Hit that button again there.
Is that on now?
Yeah, it's on.
Oh,
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I believe the question was asked how long they may have been operating without a business license at this proposed location. I don't know exactly, but I presume about a week before
Oh.
our code enforcement noticed there was signage out there.
Okay.
My understanding is this item was on the last council meeting, and they had thought that it was approved at that time, but it was not, and so they removed their signs.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I noticed they said they'd been in business for 35 years, but that project hasn't been there that long, so they weren't at that location. So that's why I
No,
was
this,
curious.
the 35 years, I believe, is, if you notice, on Redondo Beach Boulevard on the second floor of the Spoon House.
Okay.
Across from the across from the Pacific Square.
Okay.
Floor.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? No? Okay. That being said, can I get a motion to approve the new fortune telling permit for Sophia Adams and Tiffany D. Johnson?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Henderson and a second by Councilwoman Francis. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Councilmember Love,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay. Next item is item number 13B. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item 13B is ordinance number 1846 relating to the protection of property during demolition, including a determination that the ordinance is exempt from provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to the common sense exemption set forth in Guideline Section 15061B3 and under CEQA Guidelines Section 15305, Class 5, for minor alterations in land use limitations. At a previous council meeting, a resident expressed their concerns that dust and lack of notification during the demolition of an abandoned large hospital located at 2315 Marine Avenue. At the City Council meeting held on October 11th, 2022, Council directed staff to draft an ordinance using language similar to the City of Hermosa Beach. Staff has drafted an ordinance on demolition activities in order to address the larger projects that have the potential to cause concerns to nearby residents. There is no financial impact. What is required tonight is to introduce ordinance number 1846.
Okay, does any member of the council have any questions or comments at this time? Do you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just wondering, this was the old hospital there on Marine. Is there a size of project or a size of building that would trigger the guidelines under this ordinance? I mean, is it just a house or 1,300 square feet, or is there a size allotted to? I mean, because that was a pretty good sized project. You know, it took half the block. But is there? How does this apply? Because
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Mayor Pro Tem, your question was whether or not there was a size limitation that would trigger this notification requirement. In this ordinance, it does not go by size, it goes by the type of work performed. Hermosa Beaches was concerning any type of demolition of the walls or exterior of the roofs or whatnot. In addition to construction. So what we did was look at that ordinance. Most of your large projects that have the potential to cause dust would be a full demolition, whether it's a single-family home or a three-story building. Most contractors know to keep the water down, to keep the dust from going up, but this ordinance would kind of reinforce that to ensure that the neighbors would be notified that there is a potential for dust if they don't do the proper mitigation measures. So I believe that was the intent of what our ordinance was, is to provide notification when there's a large demolition project going on.
so this ordinance basically just provides notification that there's going to be a demolition project, and who is responsible for making sure. I'm just kind of curious because I wasn't quite clear on it. I was wondering. So who is responsible for regulating or enforcing it? I mean, if I'm next door or behind it, do I get to say is it on the people that are affected by it, by the dust? Is the burden of, I guess I'm trying to, to report it, enforcement on the person that's being affected, or I'm just kind of, are we covered in this?
So as right now, say someone wanted to demolish a single-story building next door to you, they wouldn't have to provide notification to you. They would get the proper permits and plan check, and then go ahead with their work. What this ordinance would do would then, prior to them doing any sort of demolition work, would be to notify those surrounding within 100 feet that there was demolition to occur, and post the proper signage, have the building official review the site to see if there's any necessary screening that may be needed. But there's already laws in place. The main mitigation measure during demolition is water. Putting water down on the dust so that it doesn't go up. So that doesn't prevent that. They still have to follow the same mitigation measures that they've always had. This is just an extra layer that, hey, on these big projects, notify the surrounding, whether it's a business or a resident, whether it's the owner or the tenant, that they're notified that, hey, there's a large project with demolition going on that could cause some problems. So there's posting of signage of who to contact if they're not doing their proper mitigation. Of course, our building and code enforcement still does their enforcement activities, but this is another layer of protection.
So this is just geared mostly pointed toward notification, rather than, and then once there's an issue, then we go and enforce or go and.
We have our normal
That's what it
enforcement
is. Okay.
procedures, correct.
All right. There was no notification requirement prior to this ordinance.
Correct.
All right. Thank you. That's what I wasn't clear on.
Okay, any more questions or comments? Okay, if not, can I get a motion for us to introduce the ordinance?
Motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, a motion was made by Councilmember Love and a second by Councilmember Francis. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Love.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes, okay. Now, is there somebody who would like to introduce tonight's ordinance? Doesn't matter, it can be anybody, just introduce
do
it. Okay. So, Madam City Clerk, for clarification, tonight's ordinance will be introduced by Councilmember Tanaka.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is item number 14A, our COVID-19 update. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, for tonight's COVID-19 update, the City of Gardena, total case count is at 20,989. That is up 624 cases since last month. So we've seen an uptick in LA County, and we're seeing an uptick in City of Gardena. The total death count as of COVID, for COVID, unfortunately has increased too. We're now at 281 since last month. Vaccination, children 5 to 11 is at 36.6%. Ages 12 and above is at 89.3%. The youth 12 to 17 is at 82.5%, and seniors 65 and above, it's at 95%. We do continue testing at Raleigh Park as of December 13th. Total residents tested is 7,852, and there have been 107 tests since our last council meeting last month.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next up is item number 15. I'm sorry, did anybody have any questions or comments on the COVID update? No? Okay, next up is item number 15A. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item 15A is notification of eligibility for funding in the amount of $123,276 under the Tobacco Grant Program Award for fiscal year 2022-2023 grant cycle. Staff recommends that the City Council accept a $123,276 grant award from the U.S. Department of Justice Division of Operations for expenditures to be funded under the Tobacco Grant Program for the 2022-2023 grant cycle. Utilizing these funds, it is the intent of the Gardena Police Department to conduct minor decoy operations to ensure licensed retailers are not selling tobacco products to youth. The department will conduct follow-up retail checks to ensure sustainability of the enforcement. Portion of the funding will also be used toward conducting local tobacco retail license inspections. These inspections will increase compliance among tobacco retailers as well as ensure that they are adequately educated regarding tobacco-related regulations. The police department seeks to reach out to the community through neighborhood watch meetings and community education workshops to provide education on the dangers of tobacco use amongst our youth. This forum will provide a more collaborative environment where law enforcement can work with the community to address the issue of tobacco use among school-aged children. What is required tonight is to accept the grant award and authorize expenditures, and that award amount is $123,276.
Okay, thank you. Madam City Clerk, do we have anybody from the public wishing to speak on this item? No?
No.
Okay.
we don't.
Anybody from the council like to comment or have a question? Okay, go
Chief,
ahead.
is this going to include checking on flavored tobacco products?
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, Councilman Tanaka, yes, it will. It includes at least 6 tobacco license inspections, and during that time, that is when that education will go out. And they should be doing it beforehand, but we'll ensure that it's being done.
Any more questions or comments?
Just a couple quick questions.
Hold on
So-
one second. Mark had his hand up. Councilmember Henderson? Okay.
Okay.
Councilwoman Francis?
Does this include vaping products as well?
So this is for tobacco, but while we're there, we will also look at the vaping issue as well to make sure that it's legal.
Just one more. It's for in terms of retail sponsors, includes like gas stations, liquor stores, or what are you doing the checks?
Anywhere that they sell tobacco.
Even like the
Liquor store, gas stations, convenience stores, the larger chain stores, which we don't really have a problem with, we'll get our eyes on. But it's mostly liquor stores, gas stations, things like that.
and then the tobacco stores. Does it include? I know it's just for sometimes they're bringing in cigarettes from other states. Have you noticed any? Does it include anything like that when you go in to check? But this is just for school-aged children.
So this is the sales of tobacco to minors. But like I said, when we do our inspections of these locations, we'll look at some records if they have them available and ensure that they're in compliance.
As I understand, California has a little seal or something they put on their cigarettes.
Yes.
And so if it doesn't contain that seal, it meant it came from another state, and some
Yes.
tobacco retail places were doing that to cut costs. And
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Chief, before I ask, what do you think my chances are of being able to be a minor decoy in this operation? Just how am I looking?
That's a no.
Sir, yeah. Sir, you are so youthful. Of course. Of course.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? No? Okay. Thank you. With that being said, can I get a motion to award, to accept the grant award and authorize expenditures?
I motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Love and a second by Councilmember Francis. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Love,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, next up is item number 15B. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item 15B is authorization to award a 2-year video policing system camera maintenance and repair contract to Data Gear, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $133,902.40. After an extensive request for information and RFP process, the city contracted with Federal Network Services, Inc., DBA Leverage Information System, or Leverage, in May 2010 to design, install, and maintain the video policing system. Leverage then went on to modernize and upgrade a video system at G-Trans in 2012. As a result, the police department and G-Trans share a unified camera system that ensures greater safety and accountability for our staff and our community. Since the installations by Leverage, the city has had 2 different contractors who were selected through an RFP process and provided camera system and maintenance service. That would be Convergent Technologies from 2015 to 2019, and Data Gear, Inc., which the contract now has expired. Since camera and system maintenance is so critical to the operation of the video policing system, staff decided it would be in the best interest of the city to obtain proposals to ensure that the city is contracting with the lowest responsible bidder. An RFP was released in September 2022, and only one company attended the mandatory pre-bid conference and submitted a proposal, which is Data Gear Incorporated. Based on the evaluation of the proposal submitted by Data Gear Inc., and the fact that staff has been satisfied with the service provided by Data Gear Inc., it is recommended that the contract be awarded to Data Gear Inc. Data Gear Inc. has been in business for over 20 years and has worked with numerous municipalities and government agencies. Data Gear Inc. is certified with many of the components of the city's system, many of the components that the city system utilizes. The team that Data Gear Inc. will deploy to work with Gardena System is experienced and certified to meet the needs of the contract. This is the financial impact and cost. $97,680 of the $133,902.40 is for preventive maintenance. This is camera cleaning and system assessments. And the police department and G-Trans share the cost of this agreement for camera cleaning and system assessments. This breaks down to $88,800 for camera cleaning, system assessments, and the camera location assessments, with then an additional 10% allocated to any calls for service should they be necessary for any system or camera repairs, replacements, etc. Should those calls be for service and be necessary, the department that called for service is responsible for the charges. The remaining $36,222.40 is to replace to provide redundancy for the existing server in the jail. The current jail video system is antiquated and in need of replacement to ensure continued monitoring, retention, and oversight of jail operations. What is required tonight is to authorize and execute a 2-year contract with an optional 1-year extension for the video policing system camera maintenance and repair to Data Gear Inc. It is further recommended that the City Council authorize the mayor and the city clerk to execute the contract, which has been approved as to form by the city attorney.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments at this time? No? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Madam City Clerk, do we have anybody in addition?
We do have someone who wishes to
Okay,
speak.
besides what I have already for
No,
15B?
just Mr. Ahmed.
Okay, Mr. Ahmed, at this time, you can come forward.
Oh yeah. So I was just this contract seems good. It's just using. I mean, having a backup server, a cloud server, just in case servers do crash. It's very common for like the disks or even hard drive, solid state drives to fail. I would even add where you can ask this company if they can contract with, or, it would probably cost the city some money, Amazon or Microsoft Cloud or even IBM. Many companies have their America's 3 largest big companies, and having a backup video server, so it backs up all that data, just in case if that server, jail server, it crashes or something happens. There's actual that video evidence of what happened. And then also using this momentum, I mean, this is a good investment. There's a technology called ShotSpotter. City of Atlanta and many other cities are using this. Unfortunately, we do have in Gardena, you're hearing more gunshots. It's maybe gangs, claiming territory, or we don't know. I don't know what it is. A ShotSpotter, it costs money. It's very successful. If you Google it, if a gunshot occurs, that technology will actually tell you where the shooting happened. So they're able to dispatch units there to go and see, hopefully save a life. Someone that got shot. Using ALPR sensors, City of Rancho Palos Verdes has been very successful. The whole Palos Verdes Peninsula has been very successful having this ALPR technology. They're like little they look like the size of that, and they're on all the entrances of the city. So you drive in, your license plate in a picture of you gets it's just the back. It's not from the front when you're driving. It's not the driver. It's just the back of the vehicle. So that is good technology. It's very cheap. It's only $35,000 to be contract through LA County Public Works. They have a blanket contract that they do for Diamond Bar, a lot of cities. And then eventually hopefully you guys can connect to a cloud server, using Google. I mean, these are big companies, they're local companies, they're very cheap. I think it's like only $25 per camera to save. It's a Google camera. You can actually put at a bus stop, because a lot of people are getting robbed at bus stops, unfortunately. They're waiting for a bus and they're getting robbed. So if you can put that $25 camera there, the camera's $200 directly from Google, and then the service through Google is only $25, and it saves the data. So using this momentum, this is good. This is good. I mean, we just have to probably invest more and back it up with that Amazon or Microsoft Cloud, or even other. There's many companies that can be backup cloud servers for the jail camera server. Yeah, thanks so much.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments? No?
Quick one. So
Go ahead.
basically, this is a renewal contract. Is this company we were using before, and we're just renewing a contract or sending it? It's not really a new. Is it a new contract, or where's the?
This is going to be a brand new contract with the same company that's providing the service now. So the data gear has been doing that. It's now expired. We put out an RFP. They're the only ones that submitted for it. They're qualified. We've been using them. We're happy with them. So this is, for all intents and purposes, this is an extension of the contract, but it's a brand new contract, if you will.
Okay, with all the same.
Correct.
Stuff with the previous ones. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? No? Just really quickly, it could be city manager or chief of police. Some of the other suggestions, ShotSpotter, this ALPR, or cameras at bus stops, is that something that benefit this contract? Not, if you'd like to address that?
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. So we do have a duplicate system. It's a Winchester system, which we pay maintenance on. We will have to keep that for a year. After that, we'll look at cloud storage for that information. As far as ShotSpotter, I'm very pleased to tell you that our shootings are way down. If we had a proliferation of that type of activity, that's something that we would look at, but it would not be cost effective for our city at this time.
Okay.
And so that's kind of where we stand on those things as well. So.
Okay, got it. All right, thank you. If there are no other questions, do you have a question? I see your hand going that way. Okay. And that's why I need everybody to speak up before I address you there. With that being said, can I get a motion to authorize and execute a 2-year contract with an optional 1-year repair to Data Gear, where am I, Incorporated, and at this time?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Tanaka and a second by Councilmember Henderson. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis,
Yes.
Councilmember Love,
Yes.
and Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, next up is item number 16A, Mr. City Manager.
Madam Mayor, I have to recuse myself
That's
because
right.
it's within my residence.
With regards to 16A and
Yes,
And
it'll be
16B?
16A and
16B?
16D. The two aquatic center items.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I think I had this marked as 16B. So 16A and 16D, you need to recuse yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so right now, you probably need to step out. We'll bring you back in for 16B and C, and then you'll have to step back out on D. Sorry about that. Just
Madam
where
Mayor,
we have to do it. Go
If
ahead.
you wish, you could also do 16A and D.
Okay,
And then we
let's do
can bring
that.
them back.
Okay. Okay, so let's go with item number 16B first. I'm sorry, 16A.
A. Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, the agenda item 16A is to award construction management and inspection services contract for the Gardena Community Aquatic and Senior Center project, job number 978, to Griffin Structures, Inc., in the amount of $895,000. The project team is currently working towards final construction documents by spring 2023, and construction will start in summer of 2023. Meanwhile, the overhead utility relocation design is to be completed by December 2022 and seek council approval for the construction contract in February 2023. Typical building inspections and other tasks are required, such as the management of schedules, review and approval of invoices, review and approval of submittals, labor compliance, review of change orders and substitutions, safety of the job site, and soils and materials testing. The city is unable to perform these services with existing staff, and an expert in these matters is needed. On October 13, 2022, Public Works released a request for proposal for construction management and inspection services for the project, and on November 14, 2022, 4 proposals were received. The consultant that is awarded will be responsible for services for the estimated 15 months construction period. All CMI services are to be billed hourly based on not to exceed proposed total amount, and a contract change order will be considered if the project scope expands or goes beyond 15 months. 2 Public Works staff evaluated the proposals, and for the compliance with RFP of the project, independently each selected Griffin Structures as the clear top firm and decided that the interview process was not necessary. Fee proposals were opened after selecting Griffin Structures. Fees for all firms range from $772,648 to $1,483,100, and the fees for Griffin Structures were $895,000, which includes $143,000 allowance for soil material testing. As such, Griffin Structures submitted the lowest fee, considering that they have budgeted $123,000 for soil testing allowance, then the second low fee by KOA Corporation. Griffin Structures' proposal and fees are exceptionally well prepared and determined to be the most qualified consultant. Griffin Structures has been serving construction management and inspection services for 41 years. They are uniquely qualified to deliver the project given their extensive community, senior, and aquatic center portfolio,
local experience, and demonstrated past and successful collaborations with city-hired design consultant RJM Design Group. In addition, their simplified project approach is to designate a full-time construction manager to provide all-inclusive day-to-day services that includes on-site inspector roles as well, which will save cost and provide clear communications and project commitment. The financial impact and cost for fiscal year 2022-2023, the project budget is $5,020,000. Bond proceeds Measure G, $8.5 million from Prop 68 and $1.4 million from the federal earmark, totaling $14,920,000. What's required tonight is award construction management and inspection services contract.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have one speaker tonight, Mr. Zahid Ahmed.
Essentially, it's just related to it, so I'll be really quick on this one. Since the state gave 15 months, just in case, right now, there's a huge supply chain constraint, materials and equipment. What if it goes down, and it has happened to a local university. They were building a library, they had a budget issue, and they were charged, it was like $50,000 per month for that construction management. Essentially, they're managing the construction. What hypothetically, let's say another pandemic or something occurs, there's a financial crunch, even the supply chain gets constrained. Is there a way of putting it's a very small project. It's not like that library was $55 million, 5 stories with a basement, and much larger in square footage and way larger. So is there a way of putting a contingency that since it is a small, city of Gardena, it's a small city, if they can put a contingency of more, maybe like 24 months at least, and where there's not a additional, because I think after 15 months it'll go up. And then also, this is just related, I'll just say it, since the state gave about $7 million in funding for this location, could some of that funding be used to use similar like design of aquatic and senior center at the old Chase Bank property? So we actually have, it's this idea. So yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, Mr. City Manager or Alan, either one of you want to answer those questions, just so the public understands the process of how this goes?
Sure. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. As far as the first question about trying to cap the amount of change orders based on a longer period of time, their estimate is based on a certain amount of time, and so if we were to extend for a longer amount of time the contract, that would then equate into more hours and more costs. So it wouldn't work, quite frankly. I didn't understand the second question.
As far as if money could be, some of the money could be used from the Aquatic Center maybe towards your Chase project or one of the other projects going on in the city?
No.
Okay. And can you explain why, as far as, because?
Sure.
Yeah, so the public understands.
Absolutely. So when we applied for the grant from the state for the construction and other costs for the Swim and Senior Center, it's specific for that project. We deal in Public Works in many restricted funds, both for types of projects and for specific projects, and this has the restrictions that is for the specific project. We will, for our other 2 big park projects, for Mass Fukai and for the Chase Building, we would definitely look for additional funding through similar grants for those projects, and those grants then would be specific for those projects.
Okay, thank you very much for the explanation. Are there any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Madam City Clerk, do we have any other speakers?
No, we do not, Madam Mayor.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
I do.
Go
Madam
ahead,
Mayor.
go ahead.
I know it was mentioned in the summary that this is kind of specific type of skill person that you're looking for or company. And since we have several projects of this similar to this, why, I'm just kind of wondering, why can't we just hire a person that can just take care of it? is this more cost effective because we got this one? Then you mentioned the Chase Community Building, and then there are other, I'm sure, Masukai Park. So in terms of a construction manager or inspection services, we can't get someone on staff to take care of this. I mean, we'll do this one, and then will there be another project, and then there'll be another $1 million, and another project, another $1 million. Well, it's not quite $1 million, but close enough. So we can't hire a person to do this.
Mayor Pro Tem, as you know, our current CIP budget for this year and next year totaling over $40 million. So the norm, because we have so many different projects that we're working on, which is great, but the norm is that we, Alan, what is our average yearly CIP projects?
8 million.
8 million. So that means once these projects are done, if you hire those people that would manage these, we would have to lay them off. We really don't want to do that. It's more cost effective because you're not paying for pension, you're not paying for benefits. To hire somebody to manage it, and when the project is complete, then the engagement ends, and that's the end of your contractual agreement with, for in this particular case, Griffin, as opposed to hiring somebody and then when the work stops, then we have to terminate our relationship with that person or persons.
So you're saying the person we would hire can only do this? I mean, they
Councilwoman,
wouldn't
do you mind just come in a little more
Okay,
to the
so
mic?
you're saying the person that you're hiring can only do this type of work? They couldn't do anything else within the realm of public works? I just get a little concerned about consultant after consultant because I like to have somebody that, because I believe, your loyalty is to who takes care of you. So I'm loyalty and perhaps getting the job done. I just like to see us more fully staffed. I guess that's my concern is that how fully staffed are we, and are we staffed adequately to do the things that we want to get done? And after these projects, is that the end of it? We can't, in the foreseeable future, consider other things that we might need this type of service. So, and we may or may not have to lay that person off, but in terms of our staffing, I just want to make sure that we're staffed, particularly in public works, that we're staffed adequately to handle these kinds of projects. Am I clear?
Absolutely. So I'm going to take a step back, and as the city manager said, we have an outrageously aggressive and wonderful capital improvement projects budget for the next few years. We have 3 large parks. We have lots of street projects. We have signals. We have something that's probably never been seen in Gardena before. And for us to execute all those contracts and get all those things built, I need all sorts of consultants, and you're going to see over the next couple years many contracts, and whether it be for inspectors or architects, engineers, it's a lot of different people that we're going to need, and they're all specialized, and they all need to come in, do a job for a limited amount of time, and then their job is done. And they have such different specialties. To try to hire these people would be very, very difficult, and then we would have to find other things for them to do. It is, and I can appreciate your concern about loyalty and trying to get the best job out of the people, but in some ways it's easier to manage a for-hire consultant than it is to manage somebody that's permanently on staff. We can demand things of them. We can have them augment different people. We can replace different people if they don't have the right person on the job from the particular consulting firm. So it's a very effective model of executing projects, and it's something that's going to be very, very necessary for me and for us to do, especially over these next few years. So tonight I think we have 5 different items on the agenda. We have architects and construction inspectors and payments to Edison and all sorts of different things, and a construction contract for signals. And we're going to see that pace for quite a while. And it's burdensome, I know, on you and on staff, but it's exciting, and we've got a lot of great things to get done, and I'm excited about it. And I'd love to have more staff, but it just doesn't make sense to add the staff for the type of services that we need, these very, very specialized services that need to come, and then they need to go.
So you're anticipating your department will never really be fully staffed. You'll always be relying on consultants to do the things that need to be done. That's what you're suggesting to me? I'm
think
just
that
curious. I'm listening to you.
Sure. The model of the way that cities operate, in public works departments in particular, is we need all sorts of different experts. And I might need a construction inspector for 6 months, and I need 2 architects, and the next 6 months I may need 2 engineers, no architects, and 3 construction inspectors. So the mix of the people that we need, it changes all the time. And we don't need to hire those people in-house because it just doesn't match our workload and our needs.
Does that answer your question, or?
Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem and Mayor Serta, I mean, to answer the question, I think what he's explaining is that this is a matter of economies of scale.
Mhm.
We were someone that is as big as LA County, for instance, then it makes sense to hire specialists that deal with pool construction or a different type of building. But since this is temporary,
Mhm.
and we're likely not going to build another pool for the next 30, 40 years, 50 years maybe, then it doesn't make sense to keep a staff of pool construction experts. Because what they need are experts, not generalists. We would, very, very difficult to hire somebody whose expertise is pool construction management, for instance. In order for you to do that, I mean, I don't even know where to begin to look for those. You'd have to get them from the same companies that are offering the services of, this company.
Correct.
You'd likely probably not find anyone that works for a different city similar to ours.
Okay. I see. Okay, but so let me just ask you something a little, maybe, just so maybe we can have a little better clarification. So overall, for the day-to-day type of activities that we do through Public Works, I mean, we have the right type of inspectors or general managers and supervisors. That's my understanding, correct? I mean, it's not like we're deficient unless there's just happen to be an opening or something.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. That's what I think I clarified it. Any other questions or comments at this time? Do you have
Yes,
a question?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Looking at this, this particular company is going to do the inspection services for the Aquatic Center and the senior project. Is it possible that they can also work on the Rosecrans Chase property since it's going to be similar to the senior project? I know they're specializing, or they have an area where they're specializing in the aquatics and also the seniors. So since we're building a similar project on Rosecrans, can we maybe use this company and negotiate a better contract, a 2-for-1, a better deal or whatever, since we're going to wind up coming back down this road for that project as well?
Absolutely. If the timing works out right, so that the construction is ending on the Aquatic Center and dovetails probably even more likely into Massaboo High, the redo there, or the Chase building, we could augment their contract and add those services in, so long as they overlap or they're consecutive. Otherwise, we need to rebid it, but they would have, of course, a great chance of winning that contract.
Okay. Any more questions, comments? No? Okay. That being said, can I get a motion to award the construction management and inspection services contract?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, there's a motion made by Councilmember Love and a second by Councilmember Henderson. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Love,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay. Next, we're going to skip down to item number 16D here, and then we'll come back and do 16B after that. Mr. City Manager, 16D.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item 16D is to authorize payments to Southern California Edison in the amount of $69,439.10. We previously noted on the agenda that there was a payment also for AT&T for $26,443.23. I was made aware by Director Rigg that Kevin Kwok was able to negotiate with AT&T, and they are now waiving the $26,443.23 as part of a community benefit for the city of Gardena. So we will not be needing the $26,443. This is just strictly for the Southern Cali Edison portion of his $69,439.10. So just a background, the Gardena Community Aquatic and Senior Center project site is located at 16004 and 16010 Harvard Boulevard. Currently, overhead utility lines run north and south across the property, parallel to the rear property line. Southern California Edison was directed by the city to prepare plans and remove the existing overhead utility lines and its poles that had a conflict with the city's proposed project. The city's team is currently working towards final construction document of the overall project by spring 2023. Staff has been working with utility companies to develop engineering plans to underground and existing overhead utilities. There are 2 existing utility poles to be replaced and relocated and 1 to be eliminated. Additionally, there are approximately 280 linear feet of utility lines to be removed and reconstructed underground. However, the city is separately responsible for the installation of the underground conduits and utility boxes. Therefore, staff will solicit a separate construction contract bid for the city scope and seek council approval in February 2023. The financial impact and cost, this is coming from the 22-23 project budget, again, from the $5,020,000 bond proceeds in Measure G, $8.5 million from Prop 68, and $1.4 million from federal earmark, totaling $14,920,000. What's required tonight is to authorize payment to Southern California Edison. Again, Kevin, thank you for being able to work with AT&T to waive that $26,000.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Madam City Clerk, do we have anybody who requested to speak on this item?
No, Madam Mayor, we do not.
Okay, do we have any questions here on the council? Okay, Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Kevin, for working with AT&T to get that waived. So now my question goes to the aesthetic consistency of not having overhead cables in that area. Do we then start looking at, maybe start sectional plans of undergrounding our utilities? I know it's expensive citywide, but you know where I'm going with this, to start working on just developing a plan to start undergrounding utilities, because it's going to start looking weird over there where we got all these kept in, there's nothing and everything. So can we start maybe thinking about underground utility plan to make our city look definitely different and more aesthetically pleasing?
Yes, Councilmember Henderson, that's definitely something we can take a look at. As you mentioned, it is incredibly expensive. It can be $1 million a mile as a general term that I've heard of undergrounding the utilities. As far as where we're undergrounding these utilities is between 2 parcels. So the reason for it is that we can't have the overhead wires within 23 feet of the pool. So it was a functional necessity while we're doing it here, as well as an aesthetic one. We don't want overhead wires going through the middle of our site. But definitely it's something we can look at. There's money that's available through Edison called Rule 20A for undergrounding of utilities in aesthetic and commercial areas. Unfortunately, the city borrowed against our annual allocation 4 or 5 years ago, and we are in the hole by about $1 million. So we would not have Edison financing for that for quite a few years. But if it's a council directive, and definitely something we could take a look into.
Or maybe just look at our commercial corridor, so like down Western, down Normandy, Gardena Boulevard being revitalized, some places where it makes it look a little bit more attractive. The residential areas, we can kind of just deal with it, but at least in our commercial corridors, it'll make the city look completely different, though.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
We want it there too. Okay, any other questions or comments? No? Okay. That being said, can I get a motion to authorize payment to Southern California Edison in the amount of $69,439.10? And Carmen, I guess I need to also include, and we will not be making a payment to AT&T in the amount of $26,443.23, correct?
That is correct, Madam.
Okay, can I get a motion for that?
I'll move it.
Is there a second? Okay, I think I heard Love. Okay. Madam City Clerk, motion by Councilmember Henderson and a second by Councilmember Love. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Love.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, next up is item number 16B, and we can ask Councilmember Tanaka to come in. Y'all want undergrounding in residential too? Don't hold out on commercial. Put it everywhere. I heard it's more expensive too. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, 16B, Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item 16B. It's to award construction contract for the new marked crosswalk and with pedestrian hybrid beacon on Vermont Avenue and 133rd Street, job number 972, to California Professional Engineering, Inc. in the amount of $314,488. Approve the project plans and specifications, approve budget appropriation of $250,000 funds, and declare CEQA exemption. July 2018, Public Works staff conducted a citywide pedestrian safety survey based on the federal database Transportation Injury Mapping System. Surveys showed the stretch of Vermont Avenue between El Segundo Boulevard and 135th Street to have the highest pedestrian-to-vehicle accident rate in the city. An application for grant funding was submitted to the Federal Highway Administration for Highway Safety Improvement Program funds to address the situation, and in February 2019, Gardena was granted $167,800 for the installation of a new pedestrian crosswalk with a pedestrian hybrid beacon located just north of 133rd Street. In November 2019, the city contracted with the services of Iteris Inc. to conduct a study to determine if a pedestrian crosswalk is warranted in a mid-block, high-speed, high-volume location. Studies show that such crosswalk is warranted in combination with a PHB. On May 12, 2020, Council approved the award of the professional design engineering services to Iteris. Continental striped side crosswalk was designed complete with ADA ramps on both sides of the on the 165-foot wide median. A walkway along the median also had to be made, and the design engineers recommended using the high-intensity activated crosswalk as the PHB for the crosswalk. The City of LA issued a permit for the pedestrian ramp to be constructed on their side in May 2022. On July 14, 2022, Caltrans authorized the release of HSIP funds to Gardena. The project was advertised for construction in CR Planwell, Gardena Valley News, and city website in October 2022, and a total of 5 bids were received on November 8, 2022. California Professional Engineering, Inc. is the lowest responsible bidder. They have an A, which is a general contractor, and C10 electrical contractor license, and are in good standing with the California State Licensing Board. They have good verified records of construction projects from other local municipalities and have done satisfactory work for the city as a subcontractor for major capital improvement projects where they are installed in the in-pavement lighted crosswalks. It is projected that this crosswalk would be fully operational by the second quarter of 2023. Sources of funds: Measure M local, $55,000, federal HSIP grant, $167,800. And requested budget appropriation from Prop C funds is $250,000, totaling $472,800.
The estimated expenditures, design phase expenditures is $42,686. Construction management and inspection at $35,000. Construction contract award at $314,488, plus a 25% construction contingency at $79,000, totaling $471,174. What's required tonight is to award the construction contract and approve the project plans and specifications, approve budget appropriation and contingency, and declare a CEQA exemption.
Okay, are you going to speak to the presentation here, or?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. This is a graphic of what it'll look like. Traffic engineers like to use all sorts of different acronyms and fancy terms. Basically, what we're approving, or what you're approving, is a pedestrian-activated stoplight, so that then a crosswalk can be functional and safe. So the pedestrian comes up, pushes a button, it flashes yellow, solid yellow, then goes red, and the pedestrian can safely cross the street.
Okay. So there'll be no signal light on top, correct? It's actually probably going to be a better version of what we have right outside of City Hall here, off of 162nd, kind of the next
Absolutely.
level.
Yep, and it'll be an actual red light, so vehicles will be forced to stop.
Okay. I was going to say, because traffic is pretty fast right there in Vermont, and I know exactly where that's at, and I'm just a little concerned that a false sense of security thinking you can go across that street, but so a red light comes on, okay. Are we going to do any type of outreach to the community, like just letting them know that, hey, we're installing a new signal light, just be aware that this is now a ticket or anything? Or, I don't know. I mean, because it's not often we install these. I'm just curious.
We hadn't planned on any, but it's definitely something we can explore to see
Okay.
if we need to get out to the people. It's pretty self-evident what it is. It's a
Okay.
crosswalk and a push button and a
Okay.
red light.
Okay.
But
Just
we can-
curious, yeah. You know, it's just because before you were able to just keep driving, now you have to stop, and a pedestrian does have the right-of-way, correct, right?
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
typically what we do on any kind of a new signals operation like this, we put up flags, warning flags, because it's not so much we need to educate the pedestrians
Mhm.
of what they're going to do with the crosswalk. It's more that we need to alert the drivers
Correct,
the
right.
conditions have changed. So
Okay.
whether it be message boards we put out there or simply flags, definitely that would be part of the plan to make sure that it gets people become aware of it through passive or through education rather than a surprise.
Okay, that's probably what I should have said, then to educate the drivers. So
Yep.
the signboards out there would be educating them.
Yep.
So, okay, that
Yes.
makes more sense. Okay. Any other questions or comments anybody has? You have a question?
Yes, Madam
Go
Mayor.
ahead.
I'm just, so this is going to go all the way across Vermont, or just from one side to the, is there a medium that goes down Vermont?
There's a median that goes all the way across.
And so this is going to go across about 3 lanes of traffic to the
Yes.
medium, and then 3 lanes of traffic on the other side?
Yes.
Why, because I know that cars pick up pretty good speed if they happen to catch that green light on 135th. They're rolling pretty good. So why not a red light or just a traffic light? Was there any consideration like a red, yellow, green stop, or?
It's not at a large enough intersection to warrant a signal of that nature. There's a different process, a warrant process mandated by the state in order to take a look at the need for a signal at a vehicular intersection. There's a different process which this went through to make sure was warranted for simply just pedestrians being able to cross the street. So the need wasn't for the full signal, the need was just for the pedestrians.
So I guess the light would go red enough, long enough for them to cross all the way 3 lanes of traffic.
Yes.
Okay, and nobody's going to get caught in the middle.
Let's hope not.
All right. It's better than nothing.
Okay. Yeah, could you go to the second slide there? Maybe it's, yeah, and that way now you can see the medium where it'll be, because I think the other picture didn't show the medium. Can you go back one, Becky, for a sec? From there, it doesn't, show it. So the next one does kind of show it there. I mean, it looks like a signal, but it's only what, red and yellow lights. Is that correct? On the three that look?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. That's a question. Okay, go ahead, Councilman
Thank you,
Henderson.
Madam Mayor. So now I'm going into consistency of it. So the distance from El Segundo to 133rd, it's got a high traffic volume. What about the distance from Rosecrans going down Western to 147? That's a pretty highly trafficked area as well. So is the data comparable? Is it less? Because that's a location that could use something similar to this.
Sure. The way we identified this originally in 2018 is a citywide study of where were we having our pedestrian versus vehicle accidents. And this location was by far number one. We could do an analysis or take a look at those results and find out where number two is, and then address that. We'd want to spend our money at the location where we're having the most accidents, pedestrian versus vehicles. So it's definitely something, if this is a success especially, and if
Right.
people like this and it's something that you want to have more of, we would definitely look into more.
Thank you.
Okay, do you have a question?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Will it be audio like the one out front and the one in front of Giuliano's that tell them the light is flashing and traffic is stopping? Yes. Okay, and then will the red light come on before it tells the pedestrians, like if you have a blind person or someone with a disability, will the red light go on first, or will it all be simultaneously, or will the red light stop the cars before the pedestrian starts to walking across the crosswalk?
I'm confident that that's what happens, is that, yeah, that we don't have any audio before the cars are stopped.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? One quick question. Would you happen to have the number of accidents that have happened there? I'm just curious as far as this being one of the top spots.
My understanding is within the study period, there were 3 accidents, pedestrian versus vehicle, and one of those was a fatality.
Okay, and the study period, what was it, like a year or 2 years possibly? Just a rough estimate.
2 years.
2 years, 2 years, 3 accidents, 1 fatality. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, if there are no more questions in, can I get a motion to award the construction contract, approve project plans and specifications, and approve the budget appropriations and contingency, and declare CEQA exemptions?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Love and a second by myself, Mayor Serta. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Love.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis.
Yes.
Excuse me. Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Okay, next up is item number 16C. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item 16C is the award professional design services contract for the Massafukai Park Improvements Project number 820 to David Bowles, Design Landscape Architects Incorporated, in the amount of $755,830. Massafukai Park is a 4.53-acre neighborhood park located at 15800 South Brighton Avenue. In April 2020, the city hired a consultant, BGB Design Group, to develop a master plan for the Massafukai Park improvements, and the master plan was completed and approved at the City Council meeting on July 26, 2022. Due to the age of the park facilities, many of the existing features are reached the end of their life cycle. The master plan has been developed to enhance the existing features, but to also focus on addressing program needs such as ADA compliance, water conservation, safety on the playfield, drainage, programming of desired uses through community workshop participation, energy consumption, and solar system. The design phase will reassure and implement the master plan to produce the construction document and eventually solicit bids for the construction of these. The main components will be a new community center, new standalone restroom building, regrading of existing ball field, lighting, renovated irrigation system, pickleball and basketball courts, resilient surfacing at top lots, concrete paver, new site furnishings, landscaping, new decomposed granite, walking path. On August 2nd, 2022, Public Works released an RFP for design, landscape, architecture, and engineering services for the project. And on August 31st, 2022, 5 proposals were received. 3 staff members from the Public Works and Recreation Human Services departments evaluated the proposals. Staff selected 2 firms, David Volz Design Landscape, DVD Architects, Inc., and SWA Group for an interview on October 18th, 2022. After interviews and evaluations, staff gave DVD a slight edge considering their more recent and similar project experiences. When the fee proposals were opened after selecting DVD as the better firm, staff found their fees of $755,830 were $144,045 lower than the SWA Group, and fees for all 5 firms range from $571, $536 to $899, $875. Established in 1997, DVD Landscape Architects has completed hundreds of community parks and public landscapes. They are currently managing 10 similar park projects and have completed 30 park projects in the last 3 years. Additionally, the team's performance and landscape architect, building architect, civil engineering, and electrical engineering all have been directly verified by city staff based on past project experiences. As the project goes through the design phase, staff will submit the project of funding for funding opportunities for construction as they become available. The financial impact and cost is from the 2022-23 project budget of $1 million. Funding sources Park and Lou. What's required is to approve the professional service contract.
Okay, thank you. Madam City Clerk, are there anybody wishing to speak on this item?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, does any member of the council have any questions or comments at this time? Okay, thank you. Councilmember Henderson? Give me 1 sec. Let Henderson go first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In regards to the renovated irrigation system, is that also including something for our stormwater capture, or how are we going to do that?
Councilmember Henderson, no, that's not part of the scope at this point, which is due to the underground type cistern type design that's not required, and it's quite expensive. It's not included on this. What would be included within the irrigation is to plummet for the probability that we will have recycled water at that park in the next couple of years, as we spoke about at the Maxine Waters celebration with West Basin getting additional funding for a variety of projects. So the underground storage is not something we're required to do. If the council directed, we could include that within the design, but it would be quite expensive.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Francis?
Yeah, so the funding source, Park and Lou fees, so technically it's not coming out of general fund money. I mean, it's not or any figure, but this is monies that's collected from the new developments.
Yes, it is exactly that. It's not
All right.
coming from general fund.
And about the recycled water, so it's going to be, what's that again? Purple pipe.
Pipe system, yes.
So it won't be, it'll be, because, you know, we are heading toward drought, or we're semi-arid type environment. So it won't be cost effective to talk about recycled water, or is that going in or no? It's too expensive right now, or should we at least?
The utilization of recycled water on a site is comprised of 2 parts. One is to have usually a dual irrigation system on site, which is what we'll do. But to bring the water in a separate pipe to the site is something that West Basin will do. So they'll spend their money to bring the water, and then we'll use it. So it's a partnership to reduce that water consumption on the potable water. So yes, we will be using the water.
Okay, and it's not going to be very expensive for us. We should save money over the course of years.
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
You have a question?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Kind of going back to what Councilmember Henderson was asking. I know you're saying it can be expensive now, but would it be feasible to check into the cost of it and weigh it against what we could save by saving the stormwater and recycling it for the future, considering water is becoming a real issue, the availability of water becoming a real issue. So, I mean, if we're going to do the project now, can we look into seeing what the difference would be, and if it is worth the cost, even though it might be expensive.
And if I might clarify, that's for the underground storage under the fields?
Right, capturing the stormwater and processing and being able to recycle it, the city being able to do it. Or even if we can maybe partner with West Basin Water to see if they have some funding that they can give to us besides the money that Congresswoman got us. Since it is a water project, it is a water issue, and they're big on water. Between West Basin and Met Water, it might be something that is worth checking into.
That's interesting thought. Typically, the underground storage that's under fields is for two different purposes. One is to recharge the groundwater basin, and the second is to take the demand off of downstream storm drain systems. Typically, it's not used in any kind of a recirculating type treatment system to then be used again for irrigation. But we have looked at and we have talked to West Basin about another potential project for groundwater recharge at the Willows, and it might be worth it is worth a conversation with West Basin to see if they're looking at some additional groundwater recharge areas, if this might be one. We could potentially even divert storm drainage from storm drains in Normandy into the underground basin for infiltration, because the groundwater recharge is the best way to store and reclaim water. So that's very interesting. It is something we'll look into. Sure.
Okay. Well, thank you for that clarification on the underwater storage. I had no idea. I didn't know that's how it worked. But here's a question I have. I know when we get recycled water at Arthur Johnson Park, at the time, and I'm not saying it was a bad thing getting recycled water there, but we thought it was going to be of no expense to us that, the money we received and now we're going to have recycled water. But what I found out later on was that the city ended up putting a lot of money in assisting getting that piping there as well, not to mention the time that it took as far as construction, the inconvenience of it. And that's just part of the process, inconvenience to residents with the piping. But there will be a considerable amount of expense for us as well, too. My understanding that would probably come out of our budget, our portion, if we were to get that.
So typically what happens when you use reclaimed water on fields, you have to have the purple pipe, as Councilman Henderson referenced, and you also have to have a potable irrigation system. What happens is when you use the reclaimed water exclusively on a lawn, the excess salts or the additional salts are bad for the field. So what I would anticipate with a new field like this is we would have to incur the additional expense of essentially two irrigation systems. One, the purple pipe to irrigate with the reclaimed water, and one, a typical irrigation system to offset and to use potable water without the salts. So there is additional expense, I would estimate.
But it still saves us money in the long run,
Yes.
but just initially getting this off the ground can be a little costly.
Yes,
Okay.
the costs are fairly minimal, but there are costs.
Okay, got it. Okay, any more questions or comments? No? Okay, that being said, can I get a motion to approve the professional services contract?
Motion.
Moved.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Love and a second by Councilmember Tanaka. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Love?
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Mayor Serta?
Yes. Okay, next up is item number 16E, Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council. Agenda item 16E is the award construction contract for Manhattan Beach Boulevard drought-tolerant landscape conversion maintenance project to Venco Western Inc. in the amount of $46,279, and additionally declare CEQA exemption and approve project plans. This project will consist of removal of existing turf, upgrading the irrigation system with a drip system, planting of drought-tolerant plants and shrubs, and providing traffic control as required by Watch Book standards. This project comes as a recommendation from West Basin as a way to preserve water by installing drought-tolerant plants, and West Basin will provide a rebate up to $30,000. Staff will look to offset the cost by using gas tax fund. 3 formal bids for this project were solicited by email. 1, Venco Western Inc. from Oxnard, California for $46,279. Rancho California Landscaping Inc. from Gardena, $97,978. And Mariposa Landscapes Inc. from Irwindale, $212,422. Vanco Western Inc. is a state licensed landscape company with verified successful landscaping experience and has done landscaping work for the city in the past. Staff recommends for City Council to award the construction contract for the Manhattan Beach Boulevard medians drought-tolerant landscape conversion maintenance project to Vanco Master Inc. In the amount of $46,279, and additionally approve the project plans, declare the project to be categorically exempt under California Environmental Construction Act Class 1 as rehabilitation of existing facility. The financial cost and impact budget amount is $46,279 from gas tax, West Basin rebate at $30,000, and the total cost after the rebate is $16,279. What's required tonight is an award construction contract for Manhattan Beach Boulevard drought-tolerant landscape conversion maintenance project to Venco Western Inc. in the amount of $46,279. Additionally, declare CEQA exemption and approve project plans.
Okay, thank you. We have a speaker on this item here, Mr. Zahid Ahmed. And while he's coming forward, I'm just curious, how did we end up selecting this location here? Because I can think of a whole lot of other locations that are really in need versus that's probably one of the better looking ones already.
It's a good question, and there's a story to tell on that. So one of the restrictions that's come out of the drought for municipalities is not to irrigate purely decorative turf on median islands. And so we only have turf, grass, on 2 median islands in the city. One is Manhattan Beach Boulevard. The second is on Vermont. Vermont is large enough, we're going to pretend, or at least call that a park for now, and not have to replace all that grass. But West Basin has this program. We need to stop irrigating this purely decorative turf, and they give the money, a large part of it, they rebate us $3 a square foot for turf that's removed. So we went to West Basin and said, hey, we've got this median. They provided the landscape architect that came up with the design. And then once implemented, it'll be an example to the public of a different way to landscape. It'll have good plants that people can use, kind of like our little demonstration garden, that hopefully people will take a look at and say, hey, this is something that looks good. It's drought tolerant and something I want to have in my yard. So, yeah, we will have the 2 medians that are available for this funding as example type projects.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay, thank you. Mrs. Zahid Ahmed, go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. I was just thinking this. These are great things you're doing, Director. It's just amazing. I was just wondering on Redondo Beach Boulevard on Vermont Avenue between RBB, Redondo Beach Boulevard to Gardena Boulevard. It's the train tracks. It's barren land. If we can potentially use, maybe even the same same company or another company. A good example would be the LA Air Force Base in El Segundo, right across the street. They built these townhomes. They're beautiful townhomes. The architecture, the trees that they use are drought-tolerant trees. They look green. They have these. I'm not sure what type of plants they are. I'll send an email to City Council with the photos, and I'll CC the Public Works Director. If we can even use some of that, it gives it a new, vibrant look. So those townhomes are worth probably $1 million, and they're in Hawthorne, right across the street from El Segundo's Air Force Base. So another thing would be adding. This is similar to this. So adding a smart sign electronic display. If they're potentially, I think they're just doing the landscaping portion, not the electronics or engineering or electrical. Adding smart signage where city can essentially put something similar to this for display of banners. So you need power, and then the current center medians that are like the ones off like Vermont and RBB, Redondo Beach Boulevard, on the I forgot the street. It's like this. It's like a big Gardena Memorial Hospital building. There's like a center median right there by the casino. It barely has any planting there. So when you're driving past it, all you see is like a center median with dirt and a few plants. So if we can add more planting. And then looking at City of Lawndale's trees, they have these really beautiful white oak type trees. They grow really rapidly. And then the center medians in like sleeping willow trees also. And then Palos Verdes and Irvine have done this really, and Tustin has done this really good on their center medians. They look like green colored bushes, and then they're really drought tolerant. So they're beautiful green bushes, and it fill up the space. So that's all. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Madam City Clerk, do we have any other speakers?
No, we don't, Madam
Okay,
Mayor.
thank you. Does anybody from the council have any questions or comments at this time? Do you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
I thought, I could be wrong, I thought earlier this year that we awarded a contract to, I forget the name of the company, and I tried to look for it, but it was like for $450,000 for landscape medians. It was two, they got two. One was for landscape and then one was for landscape mediums. Is this company doing something that they could not or can't do, or do you recall them talking about? It was like about $400,000.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem. Mariposa is the contractor that we have that does all the median, excuse me, the median landscape maintenance as well as our tree trimming. They bid on this project, but they were, I think, 3 times as much in cost. So they had the opportunity to bid it, but their costs were dramatically higher.
May I ask you another question?
Yes.
If they already have a contract to do landscape mediums, why would they need to bid on this particular? Is there something special about this particular spot than just general mediums, or am I a?
It's a different scope of services. Their contract is for the maintenance of existing landscape and on these existing medians. This is for a complete redo-over. So it is a different scope of services, new irrigation, removal of the turf, new plants, so it would not be included in what is essentially a maintenance contract that they already have.
Okay, so Mariposa that bidded on this particular contract has a contract, but they can't do this particular project even though they bidded on it. So that would suggest to me that there's a possibility they could, but anyway, I'm good.
Okay, any other questions or comments at this time? No? Okay, can I get a motion to award the construction project and approve the project plans as well as declare CEQA exemptions?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, Madam City Clerk, there's a motion made by Councilmember Love and a second by Councilmember Tanaka. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Love.
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis.
No.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, next up is City Council directives. Does any member of the council have any directives at this time? Okay, you have okay. Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you. I have a question and 2 directives. Mr. City Manager, have we been able to complete enough of the Wi-Fi pilot at Raleigh Park to demo it on the MLK parade? Because we'll all be up there, and I know it's a smaller area, but at least we can showcase that, project to come.
We don't have enough to showcase the entire park. I don't know the stage we're in right now, but as a matter of turning on a Wi-Fi in a specific spot for that park, that could be accomplished. But I don't have an update at this point to give us an idea if it's feasible to do a widespread demo at the MLK parade.
Okay. Then, Madam Mayor, I have 2 things. Definitely would like to see if I can get a second. In regards to National Civic League has given us an opportunity to participate as an All-American city and to receive an award. Our staff would have to probably get a letter out by the 15th, which is a couple days away, but I was wondering if we can get a second to see if we can win the award for being an All-American city. Since we're business friendly, we want to make sure we start setting a theme of what City of Gardena is about.
Can I ask a question? I don't want necessarily a discussion, because I know, Carmen, we're not supposed to ask discussion, but do we have to be a member first, or we can just apply for
We
it?
can just apply.
Okay, is that okay? Just-
Are we in American City? I don't know.
We
I-
have
I
been
don't-
in the past. We aren't.
So
now.
is the directive to send a letter?
Yes, just to send a letter to basically compete. The instructions are real simple in regards to, this is our city, tell
I
our
w-
story.
I would imagine, you know, we can simply send a letter for that purpose. If we are already, then no harm, no foul. But you know,
Right.
to send a letter probably isn't probably not a big deal.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's instructions in the email I can send to
And
the
so,
city manager.
given the timing of it, where we wouldn't have enough time to agendize it, you said it's due December the 15th?
Yes.
So what we could do is, if there is a second to prepare the letter, is there a second to prepare the letter?
There's a second.
Oh. Go ahead.
There
you
is
can
a second to prepare the letter, then I will direct that the city manager have his staff prepare the letter, and then write to each one of you who wants to have your name added to the letter, since we don't have enough time to agendize the item for a full discussion.
And there's some specific instructions with the application, so I can forward that to Mr. City Manager as well. The second item I have is the National League of Cities has a grant application boot camp to help communities address their brownfield issues, and there's funding available for that. However, we have to designate and/or assign and/or allocate a resource, human resource, to participate in everything. So I was wondering if I could get a second so we can at least explore the potentiality of receiving some additional funding to address our brownfields.
I'll second it.
And thank you, colleagues, and Madam Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, are there any more directors at this time?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay, you have one, and then I'll go to you. Go ahead.
Okay. So I think it was at our last meeting, Councilman Henderson, I seconded, asked a question about the plans or, you know, the programs or how we're going to go about doing this for the Gardena Boulevard revitalization. And we haven't heard anything. I was wondering what that process is going to look like. I heard that there are requirements, but the only requirement from the state, but the only requirement that the state requires is that we do what we said we're going to do with the funding. That's it. And the requirements is just what we ever come up with. And I also read that it's going to take about 6 months and maybe a little bit longer to actually receive the check. So it gives us about 6 months, not counting holiday time, but we had 6 months running. So is there any way that we can at least, if we don't come up with a plan or sketch something out, so, you know, we'll be able to hit the ground running when we do get
So
the
this was
funding?
assigned to the GBAC for them to facilitate the oversight as far as, and then the community development director and the economic development manager to facilitate the process into which to, you know, how do we come up with a plan for Gardena Boulevard. As far as I'm aware of, the specifications for the money, as far as grant rules and whatnot, that hasn't hit my desk yet, so I don't know what those requirements are.
Well, they actually, now the feds, they have a whole bunch of little, you know, this, that, must do this, must do, must, you know, do our X here. But the state just says, do it, when we come to audit you, do what you say you're going to do with the money. And that's pretty much it. At least that's from a consultant friend of mine that I talked with about it.
So we
well,
actually have a process in which we determine the grant requirements. We can't simply do that, because if we do that and it's not right, it would invalidate the whole program.
Well, let me ask you this. Who do we get the we have to wait for the check in order to get the program requirements, or can we ask for the program requirements? And if so, do you know who we can ask that question? Or
We have asked the state for the grant requirements, and they haven't come up with it because they are still drafting it. So it's easy for them to come up with a dollar amount. Yes, $2 million goes to the city of Gardena, but usually grant requirements are after grants award. So we don't know how to spend the money. Is it going to be on facade? Is it going to be on sidewalks? We
That's
haven't
what we
received that
said.
yet.
Well, no, they, in your, I'm not gonna go back and forth with you on this, we can talk about it later, but, pretty much, the thing that you mentioned, facade, small business startups, all those things were included in the grant, as I understand it, that's how we were going to, that was the program requirement, that we simply do, we said we're gonna do. Now, in terms of, dollar amount allocations, and how we're gonna go about doing that, that's pretty much up to us. If there's a process, requirements, a startup, loan, grant, however you wanna do that. But I got Christmas vacation coming up, so if you can give me that phone number, I'll give them a call myself personally and find out, because it doesn't make sense for us to have to wait until we get the money in order to know how to spend the money. It's already too late then. I mean, if we're going to get going, otherwise, we got 6 months, maybe 8 months, at least from the report I read, it says it's going to take at least that long to get the money, and then if we have to sit and just hold the money in the holding, because I already have some ideas about how we need to go about it. But anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate
We
that.
have received grant monies before that we have had money sit in our coffers because we don't know the program requirements. So it's not unusual for the grant details to be released at a later time. And this is going to take a while. We don't want to hurry up and do X, Y, and Z just for the sake of doing X, Y, and Z. There's a process for this.
I'm not suggesting that we hurry up. I'm just saying that it'd be nice to have a plan, or at least have some ideas of where we want to head with this and how we want to approach it. That's all. Thank you so much. We will do this. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll get it figured out, and I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Any more directors? Go ahead.
Just one more. Can we, I happened to be over at Recreation Park because Martin Luther King had an event there, and one of the things that I noticed is that they're storing a lot of their equipment. Love the idea that they're not just buying things for events and decorations and then tossing them out. They're saving a lot of that stuff. But I was wondering, we seem pretty crowded over there. Is there any way we can look into getting some storage space for Recreation Parks, some other departments that have stuff in their offices and extra rooms, so that they can free up some of the classrooms and because they have a lot of stuff, extra tables, and looks like to me they're kind of overflowing with stuff. So if there's some way we can do
So
something
the
like
directive is to try to locate a storage unit off-site so we could free up some space for classrooms and whatnot that we use currently for
that. Is
storage.
that possible?
Second.
And the directive would be if the cost is within the city manager's authority. I don't know what the cost is, but if it's within his authority, then he has the authority. And if it's over 30,000, then we would bring it back to the council.
I believe the directive was to look for the unit and then bring it back to city council for consideration, or just execute it.
When I say look, I mean, really, really look, it's going to cost us this much, it's here and on this corner, and it's going to cost us this much, and it's done by this, that's at least that's when I look for things, that's how I go shopping.
Can I ask a question here? Can we check with staff to see if they need more space, or was that maybe just a temporary thing that day? Because I know things are stored all various places. I mean, I didn't even know that was an issue.
Well,
So, I mean, maybe it was just sat there temporarily before it goes to wherever it gets stored. So before we start talking about getting storage and paying for that, maybe see if that's an issue. Because I've never known,
It's not, but maybe, I don't know, it just seems, there were baby car seats under the stairwell, and there's another room that had a refrigerator. Had a
and
lot
where
of
is this
stuff
at
in it.
again?
Right there, look, you can go right.
You talking about here at Nakoka Center?
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
no,
I did hear
no.
recreation, that's why I was
No,
confused.
but
what we're
I
talking.
meant-
You're talking about here at Nakoka here.
Yeah, right there, by the recreation house where the stairs are, where the
Yeah.
community room is.
That's
Where you
have to
saw
be
all the
itemized.
stuff in the room
We'll have to
when
go
they
back
were
to the-
setting up for the different events happening in
They
this.
weren't just setting up some of the stuff they weren't using.
Yeah.
Mayor Serta.
No, they weren't using this stuff. It was like one room was just full of, stuff they used. It didn't look very temporary to me. It looked pretty permanent to me.
I know you. I know exactly
Yeah.
what you're speaking of. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to comment on the subject because I commend Park and Recs for purchasing a lot of the equipment that they use, but I think they are spreading their wings a little wide because I agree with Mayor Pro Tem Francis, when I walked through some of the rooms at the Naka-Oka Center, even upstairs, the rooms are not being utilized for the public, or even like I've always championed for some place for the kids to go to. Every room that I looked in at the Naka-Oka Center was full of stored tablecloths or props or something like that. And even the buildings down on Western, the shopping center, has a lot of products and merchandise and stuff that's stored for Park and Recs. And so I think it would be worth checking into, because this is city-owned property and it belongs to the city, but our residents are nonprofit organizations that might want to come in and host programs and classes for the seniors or the youth or whatever, don't have access to these facilities, these rooms. And so I think it is something worth checking into.
Okay, hold on a second. First off, I'd like to know if it's even a problem, because I do know there are times when we say these different places are not being utilized. For instance, were you speaking of on Western and 162nd? Because the business that we were leasing it to, they're not leasing at this time. So we said, hey, that's storage, because that's not being utilized. Or maybe something's going on right now, like this past week, we've had a ton of events going on. So we do sit things in certain rooms, but I didn't know it was an issue. I'd like to first find out a staff report. Do we need space for storage? If we do, that's something we can look at as far as buying it. But before we just go jump in the cart and saying, hey, we need to buy additional property for this.
May I suggest something?
Madam Mayor, excuse me. I'm not saying jump in the car and buy it. At least take a look at it. And
just a staff report on that.
I'll take some pictures of it and show you. We can,
I know exactly what you're speaking of, but
Yeah, and
let's just find out from staff first. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to put Director Santine on the spot and say, do you need space? But, I'd like to just know, is that something we even need?
Why don't I do a study, put it on a memo to see if we need it. Second, we'll look for suitable places to store them if there is a need, and then the cost. And then we can move forward.
Right, because to my knowledge, I don't know of us not being able to have any type of classes because things are being stored there. So my understanding, we have room for just about everything we're doing. So,
Mayor Pro Tem, this is your directive. Is that acceptable for us to develop a plan like that? Trying to figure out.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
So my suggestion is for us to determine first that the storage solution is temporary. Are they storing it there temporarily, or is it something that's permanent? Do we need to do that? And then number two, the cost once we find, public storage or whatever, we're going to store these and then bring it before you and then decide whether or not we want to do this. So we'll be providing a memo. Is that acceptable? To explain what we found.
I think that's about the best I'm going to get, so we'll go for it. We'll go for it. And in the meantime, I'll give you an idea. I'll take some pictures and I'll show it to you and show what I'm talking about, because it's just that at best, it doesn't look good. At best.
okay, any other directives at this time? Hold on, let's go to Councilmember Love, and I'll come back to you.
I do. I wanted to know if Public Works can take a look at some of the dark spots that I've seen in the city. Like, I got here early tonight, and I was sitting on the parking lot in my spot, and it was pretty dark in this parking lot right here.
We actually have a lighting upgrade project that we're doing now. It's in the design study phase, so that might. There are a lot of darker areas in and around the campus.
Yeah.
So that's-
You want to hold your directive until that comes out, or do you want to still?
No, since he said it, I can hold it. I don't need it. But yeah, it was because I had called one of the city employees. She was walking to her car, and because it was so dark, she was looking around and she didn't even want to answer me. And then when I told her who I was, that's when she stopped. But it was that dark that she was like, "I'm not stopping for anybody," which I understand. And then in the process of doing that, can we check some of the bus stops, because there's a bus stop right here next to the Dollar Tree, under a tree, and it is pretty dark over there. If I was a woman and I had to catch that bus, I would probably pay for an Uber So if we can check into putting some type of lighting right next to the Dollar Tree, under the tree. That's it. That's my own.
Okay. Councilmember Henderson.
So we.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We
I'm
need
sorry. Was there a
for-
second?
Second for the lighting?
Is there a second?
The bus
Second.
stop? Yeah, okay.
And mine's not a directive, it's a question. I forgot to ask on one of the projects, I think it was the Aquatic Center. When we said the second quarter of the fiscal year, were we talking about the normal January, December year, calendar year, or our fiscal year, July to June? Because you said second quarter of 2023, something was going to be complete. I just didn't know which year we were talking about.
I believe that's calendar year.
Calendar year, okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more directives at this time?
Just one more second.
Go ahead.
I got thrown off with that
Go ahead.
big discussion about storage space. But anyway, I noticed in the annual comprehensive financial report, and I saw also on the budget, that we have historical large capital improvement funding that's going on. Am I correct in that?
Correct.
So I was just wondering, is there some kind of, can we get like a timeline of when these projects going to occur, or do we just kind of take them bit by bit? Does something like that exist? We're saying from October, November, we're going to work on this, and November, December. So when we as a body can take a look, and also since we're paying all these consultants, I'd like to know, whether or not they're hitting their milestones.
Mayor Pro Tem, that timeline you're referring to is in your budget document that you
It is
approve
in my
every year.
budget document?
Correct.
Okay, if you tell me the page, I'll go look.
I don't have the budget book with me right now, but I can certainly
Can you?
point it. It should be in the back of the book,
All right.
in the very back of the book. If you're in the website, you should be able to view that on the back of the book.
Help me out. Can you give me a little help on that and find it for me?
I will.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any more directives at this time? No? Okay. Next, we're going to move on to city manager remarks regarding our previous directives.
Mayor, sir, the members of the City Council, we do have a video highlight tonight. And this refers to our activities and events that have occurred since November.
Ready? Aim. Fire.
Madam Mayor, that ends my report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's move on to council remarks. We're going to begin tonight with Mayor Pro Tem Francis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can hardly believe that this year is coming to an end. And also, this is the end of my second year as council member. And I can hardly believe that the year is over already. I'm very proud of what we've accomplished as a city. I'm very proud of our city staff. You do an amazing job. I have opportunities to work with other cities in conjunction doing other things. And I got to tell you, our staff, par excellence. And I really appreciate all that we've done this year. But since our last meeting, I attended the CERT Holiday Potluck. I attended the G-Tran Awards Banquet. Don't tell anybody, but G-Trans give the best parties. Yeah, it was really a lot of fun. Helping Hands toy giveaway, the city staff holiday party, although the food was really amazing there. So I don't know G-Trans, you're going to have to step it up a little bit. I also attended the Greater Los Angeles Vector Control District meeting, as which I'm a trustee, and the Winter Wonderland. It was cold, but it was a lot of fun, and all the kids had a really great time. So in my closing remarks, I just want you to know, however you celebrate, whatever your festive traditions are, I want you to enjoy yourself, make sure you have a good time, have a lot of fun. We write about my first grade class about what Christmas is all about. And one of the things that they said, and they mentioned a lot, was Christmas is about family and friends and spending time and eating. So spend time with your family and friends if you can. Eat lots. And whatever you do, be safe, be happy, and we'll see you next time. Until we meet again.
Okay, thank you. Next is Councilmember Tanaka.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Because of the hour is late, I'm going to speed through this because Stephanie, thanks for all the stuff that we attended this last month. But congratulations to staff in our city, attended the Eddie Awards, and way to go, Gardena, first place for 60,000 population and over. Swearing in ceremony for my Commissioner Calais. Elks hosted a veterans dinner. All veterans were fed. They had a steak dinner that they just totally were appreciative of having that night. 53rd Veterans Day Remembrance City Hall. Thank you for allowing me to do invocation. Toshio Hirai Memorial at the PD to just commemorate the loss of his life, and we totally miss him every year. South Bay COG open house of our new facility in Torrance and our board meeting. Catalytic converter etching, wobble before you wobble before you gobble. The Coop and Fire grand opening. Thank you for local people doing local business. It's really a great thing. Village Mobile Park annual Friends Sharing Luncheon. Holiday Trolley at Freeman Park. City's Finance Committee meeting. The CERT annual business meeting in Potluck. Attended and was part of the memorial for Rich Fugio. His daughter Kelly was part of our city staff at one point. Rich was one of our great contributors to make our city a great place. I did the city trolley at Johnson Park, Helping Hands giveaway, did city staff Christmas celebration, Winter Wonderland tree lighting at the city. Kiwanis Club, we served our seniors lunch and did a gift giving for them. It was our first official event, and thank you to all that participated. Did the South Bay COG Steering Committee meeting, and my apologies to Director Crespo for missing your great party. But I also had a fundraiser already planned months ahead of that one, so I couldn't get out. And again, as Mayor Pro Tem said, this is the end of the year, and we do appreciate everything that our city, our staff, our directors, everybody that makes this place the greatest place. And I'll tell you, I tell everybody this, we are the gem of the South Bay. Everybody wants to be us. They cannot figure out how we do what we do. And I think they just wish they had a little bit of us. But for everybody, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Feliz Navidad, everything. Celebrate the way you celebrate, and just remember the reason for the season. And we hope that 2023 will be a really great year for all of us. So God bless you all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up is Councilmember Love.
Oh, goodness. Yes, Stephanie, you need a vacation in January because you do a lot in December. Since our last council meeting, I attended the Eddie Awards, the Veteran Day Memorial. The Chamber did a turkey giveaway. I did the Jolly Trolley to Freeman Park. I attended the joint job fair with the Chamber, South Bay Workforce Investment Board, and the city. I did the Jolly Trolley to Johnston Park. I attended the Brotherhood Crusade honoring Mookie Betts, breakfast with Santa Claus the next morning. The next day, the MLKT and fashion show. That same day, the tree lighting. And the same day, the Winter Wonderland. Yesterday, I attended a golf tournament in Calabasas, the Snowman and Sand Traps. That funding will benefit the residents of the city of Gardena. And this coming Saturday, the Chamber will be giving a toy giveaway, grab-and-go lunching for anyone in the community. And on Christmas Day, as the Senator Bradford mentioned, the Chamber will host a Christmas Day lunching to feed anyone in the city that may need a meal, don't want to be alone, homeless, less fortunate, whatever, we don't care. We will have a full lunching, toys, gifts for the adults, gift cards, the whole 9 yards. And last, I want to recognize someone that's been in the audience this entire meeting. And that is my friend, Mrs. Williams. Her son was Ronald B. Williams, who will be recognized in the remembrance. And for her to attend this meeting and wait the entire time, I wanted to recognize you, my sympathy to you and the family. I've known you for a long time, and I understand that the parent is supposed to bury the child, but I just want you to know that we love you. You're in our prayers. And that ends my report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and for myself, since the last council meeting, I attended the Eddie Awards. I'm not going to go into detail all of these because I have a lot. I attended the Passport to Wellness event. I want to thank Officer Sterling Kim, as well as all the organizations that worked with the group where they had a fentanyl awareness educational, I guess you call it like a summit there, but a lot of good things going on. So thank you for that. That was a really great event that you partnered with Gardena High School with. Also, I attended the the Elks Veterans Appreciation Dinner, and I want to thank the City of Gardena for partnering with the Elks. I've had several people come to me and even email me and say, thank you so much for remembering us and providing a free steak dinner for them that night. They really, really love that. Also, I attended the Veterans Day ceremony. I also attended a retirement party for resident Michelle Benjamin, who retired from her job after 45 years of working with Kaiser as a nurse. I also attended the G-Trans 10th anniversary of the 10 and the 110 Express Lane. It was like a press conference that was had over at the, can't even think of it. Say it again? Harbor Gateway. Thank you so much. Okay. Also, I attended the Toshio Harai Memorial that we had here at the police department. I also attended my monthly CCGA meeting, sanitation meeting, as well as simultaneously, I was doing a Zoom with sanitation, as well as LA County city selection meeting for the Southwest Corridor, where we voted in Mayor Butts to be our representative as it related to Transportation Authority. I also attended the City of Gardena's Casino Night, the Etch and Catch, Wobble Before You Gobble, the grand opening of Coop and Fire, Village Mobile Home Park holiday party, as well as the CERT graduating class for 2022. Also, I attended the 15th annual Thanksgiving dinner that was at El Pola Inca. Give a special thanks to El Pola Inca, the employees from the City of Gardena, as well as the Elks members and Rotary members who came out on Thanksgiving Day and helped prepare all the meals at El Polo Inco and served it. I believe it was something like almost 300 people. They didn't turn anybody away. If you showed up with your entire family, everybody was going to get served, and it was a lot of food. In fact, people had plates to take home. I also attended Coffee with a Cop. I also attended community meeting for 129th and Western, the Gardena Holly Park homeowners meeting, Councilwoman Francis, as well as Councilmember Henderson was there as well as I attended the G-Trans award celebration and also the Second Time Around Club installation on this past Monday, as well as the Top Notch Volunteers Dinner. I've been on the trolley a couple of times. I want to thank I want to just take just a moment just to thank the departments as it related to the Jolly Trolley. I think it was really neat the fact that we had 3 different departments collaboratively work together. G-Trans with the trolley, Parks and Rec out there with setting up all the different games and so on, and the police department as well. I mean, all 3 departments there made it so much easier to put that together. And this was, I mean, it was really big last year, and it was seemed like it was even bigger this year. And so I just think that's great when all the different departments can jump in there. So I'm waiting for the city manager and city attorney to find some kind of niche where they can jump in. You can be Santa Claus and you could be one of the, I don't know, the Grinch. There you go. So, but I really appreciate the fact of seeing all those departments work like that together. And it just made it really nice. So thank you guys for that. Because I know in the past it's just been the PD just, kind of usually doing the Santa float. So that was really great. Also, I attended our finance committee meeting, as well as the Tri-City CERT annual Christmas potluck. Also, I attended the swearing in for my sister, who just became the president once again for the LA Southwest Realtors Association. As well as I attended the Helping Hands toy giveaway on this past Saturday. And then I also attended a second one for the organization called SURF, which deals with autistic kids. They had a toy and turkey giveaway this past Saturday as well. And then on Sunday, I attended the Winter Wonderland as well as the Christmas tree lighting. And then Monday, we had the Kiwanis lunch, the first annual official Kiwanis event. And then earlier today, I attended the swearing-in installation for one of the council members in Lamita, Mark Warnick, through the South Bay Association of Chambers of Commerce. It was a really great event that they had. And just lastly, I'd just like to thank all of our employees for the great job that you guys have done throughout the entire year. I often say this, that a lot of times people may never have the opportunity to meet us as a council, and sometimes their first contact may be with maybe a bus driver with G-Trans or a member of Public Works or whomever, maybe just a receptionist answering the phone. But when you guys give great service, it's just a reflection on our entire city. So for that, I thank you guys. You guys are doing a great job, and I constantly have people stop me and say how much they appreciate what our city does, how courteous that they're treated, and they love the fact that I always say that we're in a big city, but yet we still have a small town feel to it. So I know 2023 is going to be even better, and just want to say thank you as we end this year out. So with that ends my report, and Councilmember Henderson, you're up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And because the hour is truly long, I will be fast, but I do want to share some things. So I have a mentor, and she says that feedback is a gift. So I'm going to share my gift. So I've been accused of always being all work, no play in regards to committees and everything. So I'm going to begin my remarks with saying happy holidays to our community and everybody. Sometimes I forget that this is a time of reflection for us. Let's assume I was at all these things. I'm not going to even name them all down because we've heard them before. But I do want to share what happened and what transpired at the CERT, Tri-City CERT dinner. I had the fortunate opportunity to sit with our Parks Director, our Chief of Police, our Community Development Director, and we were speaking on leadership and management styles and everything, and everybody's shooting different theories around. But what resonated with me is that our city leadership is thoughtful, has a lot of empathy, strategic in their thinking, proactive in their thinking, and always looking to do things different, better, in representation of themselves, us, and our city. So, Mr. City Manager, please, we're probably not going to give anybody any raises. However, we want to acknowledge that, and our community should acknowledge that our department heads are really working hard, and they really work hard to capacity build. And another thing that jumped out at me, at the Veterans Recognition, Director Santine wasn't even there. And yet, it still went as it should, which then leads me to understand and believe that we are developing our bench and our staff correctly so things can run and those in leadership roles can do more. So we're all looking to do more, even ourselves up here and everything. So I want to acknowledge that, acknowledge all the staff and everything, acknowledge you, Mr. City Manager. I definitely have to acknowledge our city clerk and city clerk, but our city attorney, because she's always making sure, yeah, Councilman, don't say that, can't do that. Make sure you check with us first. So I appreciate that, because I'm always trying to push an envelope as well. But I just want to say this was a great year. We accomplished a lot. There's a lot coming down the pike in regards of what we're going to do as a community moving forward. I'm excited about it. And let's just take a break. And then when we come back in 23, let's just get back to work. So, Madam Mayor, so ends my report.
Okay, thank you. Very well said. Okay, so we're going to move on to remembrances. Tonight, we're going to adjourn in memory of Mr. Ronald B. Williams, who's a longtime Gardena resident since 1973. He attended local Gardena schools and graduated from Gardena High School. Mr. Williams attended UC San Diego and graduated in 1992. He then attended Cal State Dominguez, where he had earned his teaching credentials and master's. In 2005, Mr. Williams began teaching secondary world history and ninth grade life skills at Gardena High School, where he also assisted with coaching and mentoring the students of Gardena High School. After 2 years of classroom teaching, Mr. Williams became the Dean of Discipline from 2006 through 2011. Mr. Williams made it his personal mission to support students and parents at every opportunity and treated all students and their families with fairness and dignity. He will be greatly missed. We're also going to adjourn in memory of Mr. Dwayne Nathaniel Battle, who was 60 years of age and a longtime Gardena resident since 1968. Mr. Battle attended Perchie Avenue Elementary and Maria Regina Elementary School. He graduated from Gardena High School in 1980. We're also going to adjourn in memory of Mr. Richard Shigeru Fujio, who was 83 years of age. Mr. Fujio was a pillar of our city. He was a successful businessman, a gracious and generous volunteer, and a loving family man. He owned and operated Rich's Carpet in Gardena for 40 years. He was a stalwart member of the Gardena Kiwanis Club, donating tens and thousands of dollars to worthy community causes. Mr. Fujio is survived by his daughter Kelly, son Rich, his sister in Chicago, brother in La Quinta, sister and brother-in-law in Gardena, and many nieces and nephews. He will be greatly missed. So for our adjournment, the Gardena City Council will adjourn to the closed session portion of the City Council meeting at 7 p.m., followed by the regular City Council meeting at 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday, January 10th, 2023. Just of note, we will not have a second meeting in the month of December. So at this time, we are adjourned.